10 seconds.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Simsport Racing's GT3 Season 6. It's round 5, the business end of the championship from Zolder here in Belgium. The penultimate round after that thrilling race at Bathurst. We head on to the second to last round before we hit Spa in just 2 weeks' time. David Christie here with you for all of the coverage. Steve Proudly doing a cracking job of doing all the cameras and keeping my back, as well as I make my first ever visit to the Simsport Racing team. And what a night we've got ahead of us, Steve. A fantastic crowd out there that we've got. But I mean, you couldn't literally throw me in any deeper right now, because Bathurst, what absolutely kicked off there. 𝗏𝗏𝗘𝗡𝗏 at the top of the championship, but it was all about Dean Riley last time, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And firstly, welcome aboard. It's good to have have you here commentating with us, and I'm really excited for this one because like say Bathurst, what a track. 𝗏𝗏𝗘𝗡𝗏, what a driver, but he was outfoxed and outgunned by Dean Riley, who has, it has to be said, has been on the pace the whole season. He's had a few stewards' decisions go against him, which has cost him a few points here and there, but generally he's about one of the few drivers, shall we say, that can match 𝗏𝗏𝗘𝗡𝗏 for out and out pace. And Robbie was just lacking, maybe, you won't mind me saying, a little bit of consistency around Bathurst, and he left a little bit too much of his paint behind on those walls, which cost him a few seconds, a few places. But it was good to see all the battles there, as always at Bathurst. But a lot of the drivers have been discussing this evening, Zolder, it's one of those Marmite tracks, a love or hate it sort of a track. It's difficult to overtake and easier, it's one of the easier tracks I feel to defend at, so I think we're going to get some good racing this evening, and track cuts could play into the bargain here tonight as well.
Well, fingers crossed, that's exactly what we're going to see. Just to remind you, 𝗏𝗏𝗘𝗡𝗏 currently leading the individuals championship at the moment, 630 points up the top for Assetto Racing, ahead of Dean Riley in second place, 499 points. But it's all about that team's championship, where Simsport Solutions and their AMR Aston Martin Racing Vantage up there, 826 points. That is a strong lead going in with 2 rounds, but big points on offer tonight. 115 points is the lead over Apex Predator Simsport. Leading the AM charge as well, 𝗏𝗏𝗘𝗏𝗏𝗏 in that Ferrari 488 on 225 points. And Luke Whitehead, how is he classed as a pro-am? That is one very fast young man. Luke Whitehead on 165 points. I think he's more of a pro myself, but we'll see how he gets on tonight. This is, of course, as we said, Zolder, 2.492 mile track in the heart of Belgium. It's one of the hidden gems, I think, Steve, in Assetto Corsa Competizione. It doesn't have the prominence of, say, Monza or Spa or the likes of Donington, but it is just as challenging a circuit as any.
Yeah, absolutely. It's challenging and it's also punishing. I mean, some of those curbs, that the first chicane at the back of the pits, that can be absolutely brutal if you hit that wrong. It can be rewarding if you get the angle, the line just perfect and get that cut through there, but if you get it slightly wrong, it can throw the car all over the place, and it can actually, I've seen it turn cars around. Just a quick note there on, the sort of rules and regulations of this whole series, the Pro, the Pro-Am, the amateurs. Basically, anyone who's never raced with Simsport before, when they've joined, they're put into a Pro-Am class, so that we, instead of qualifying races and things like that, they just get thrown in there as a Pro-Am. And yeah, 100% agree with you, Luke Whitehead. He's definitely a pro. He's a very quick young man. Unfortunately, he's had to withdraw from this championship just due to overcommitting 2 other races as well. So we're not going to get to see the likes of Luke round here tonight, but we have got plenty of drivers on show. And Zolder, it's going to be one of those. because like I say, you know, you can get a guy in front of you and he can make the car very, very wide, very, very easily, and it's absolutely impossible to overtake without having to really send it and be very, very decisive with the moves that you want to make. The timing's got to be perfect. It's going to be difficult. And interestingly, the qualifying session, the guys are on track at the moment. There is around 13 minutes left of qualifying. They're limited to 3 sets of tyres for these whole events, so that's practice, qualifying and the race. So we don't see a lot of practice before the race, therefore the track's not rubbered in. For those of you familiar with ACC, obviously the track level grip goes up, the more rubber that gets put down, the more laps the cars do. So subsequently, at the moment, with 13 minutes left to go, we've only got 4 cars out on the track at this moment in time. All the top cars are still sat in pit lane waiting for the other guys to put the rubber down. So qualifying turns into more like a bit of a super pole. The guys probably do 2 or 3 laps and really, you know, try and wait for that optimum track and let everybody else do the work. It makes for some interesting qualifying, David.
I'll be honest, I've never seen the likes of it. As you said, 13 minutes to go, and it's the likes of 𝗤𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 However, I did just see the number 12 escape from pit lane just now. So that is, of course, Simon Wilkes out on to the track, as well as the I think that's the 667, and that is Rhys Wiggin. So the car's starting to slowly come into life here, and it's such a fascinating change of pace for this championship, as you mentioned there, Steve, because with 3 sets of tyres through the race weekends and through this, it means that you really have to make these count. You know, there's no messing about here. There's no throwing caution to the wind and just doing lap after lap after lap, because quite probably these same tyres are going to have to do potentially some of your stint as an emergency backup as well, with it being a 90-minute race.
Yeah, absolutely, and obviously, the guys are having to be careful with the setups on the cars. They, where normally they sort of have unlimited tyre sets, so they can afford to run aggressive setups that maybe don't look after the tyres maybe as well. It just throws another strategy element in there. Again, because they have to do one mandatory pit stop during the 90-minute race, but they only have to take 1 litre of fuel. Tyres are not mandatory. They can change them if they wish, but they don't have to. And we do see some of the guys, not taking tyres, and we have seen some guys jump up literally from 10th place at the halfway point of the race and finishing on the podium because they managed to bring the car home on 1 set of tyres. So it really does throw some alternate strategies up, and it really does shake the results up throughout the field. It's really good. It's a good test of skill when you can see somebody who's on tyres that have done 85 minutes and they are defending for their life for that last 5 minutes to stay on that podium. It makes for some very, very interesting racing, some very, very interesting battles.
We can see the main folk that we're going to be keeping an eye on tonight. Robbie Stapleford in that number 81 McLaren still in pit lane with 10.5 minutes left to go, as we keep an eye on Simon Wilkes, who just left the pit lane there in his Apex Predator Motorsport number 14 outfit. That Aston Martin looking very, very vicious as it heads round the corner there. And these cars are just absolutely glorious, especially here at Zolder with the tight walls on either side. They really amplify the sound and the amphitheatre here that you have in the heart of Belgium. So it's an absolute joy to watch these GT3 machines head their way around. Track conditions showing us fast at the moment, so obviously still, as you pointed out there, Steve, a little bit of a way to go in terms of the track and with it rubbering up. This, though, is going to be one man that I have my eye on through the course of the evening now. I'm very late to the 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 party, but having first discovered him on a different, I think it was the SRHI event that we were doing, that was my first time seeing Regan Mitchell, then seeing him in the Thursday night events on another platform. This lad is an absolute sensation. He is so fast, and the things that he can do with this Lamborghini, I've got very, very high hopes for him tonight.
Yeah, Regan is an absolutely cracking young man. He's been with Simsport Racing for a number of years now. When we were racing back in the day on AC and then onto ACC, and he's really developed, really come on, and I know the loves that are talking about the events. You know, he's a quick guy, but not only is he quick, he can be very consistent, and he knows how to put a race together. He doesn't always have the best qualifying pace, but you watch for him in that race, he will definitely be there or thereabouts, and he will be putting somebody under pressure at some point, that's for sure. And yeah, like you say, I mean, it doesn't really matter what car he gets in, but this Lamborghini does seem to be able to make it, certainly make it come very competitive.
For sure. So we'll keep an eye on him. Just seeing that current pole sitter at the moment is 𝗦𝗔𝗟𝗘𝗏𝗏 in that 111 Ferrari. Adam got an 8th place last time out at Bathurst, so he's already setting the pace, but with 8 minutes left to go, I do think we're going to see some big inroads into that time, possibly even into the 127s. But as I said, that 111 of 𝗦𝗔𝗟𝗏𝗏, currently 4th place in the championship, 378 points. It's been a good season for him, and he's going to be hoping that he can bring the Pistonheads team a little bit more good fortune, and he's certainly starting himself up in the best possible way. But Regan Mitchell coming through for the silver team, the number 69 machine goes across the line. Regan Mitchell only able to do though 8th fastest. Here's Simon Wilkes in the number 12 Apex Predator Simsport outfit, a second behind 𝗦𝗦𝗟𝗏𝗏𝗏 there, 9/10 of a second. Again, rounds here at Zolder, you'd expect, Steve, to see those times concertinaing up very quickly indeed.
Yeah, absolutely, and I'm sure there will as the grip comes in. We have only got 7 minutes left, and as you say, it's only a fast track, and I don't really see it getting much better than it is now. But the times are starting to creep down. They will start to concertina up and get a lot closer. 𝗪𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, another fast young man to watch. He's very quick in the Aston Martin, been involved in 1 or 2 incidents here and there, but he's very quick in his own right, having a very successful outing at the 𝗓𝗏𝗏𝗏 12 Hours of Bathurst, actually winning that one with his teammates. So he's certainly not shy with this Aston Martin, and he knows how to get the best out of it. I always find it interesting, David, you know, you've got 𝗪𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, Regan Mitchell and Chris ภิģebeck, who were all did very well to win that race at 𝗓𝗏𝗏𝗏, but here they are this evening on the server competing against each other, and I always find that just interesting to watch, see how they see if there's any respect between shall we say teammates, but very often there isn't, but it does make for some good battles, and it's just a little side note to watch.
It's a strange one, isn't it? Because we obviously think teammates, there's going to be that respect, that friendship there, and it never is. They're always absolutely battering each other around about the head, and that's absolutely the way that it should be. So it's great to see that. I just want to take a couple of seconds to say a huge hello to Dave Hedges, and a get well soon from everyone here at Simsport Solutions. Obviously recovering after a little operation. Now, you told me off air that it was a little back operation. Personally, I think it's his little vendetta to try and become RoboCop over the next 5 years.
RoboCop's little brother, that'd be it. Let's not kick a man when he's down. I'm not up for that. It's he's absolutely crucial to Simsport Racing. Is Dave? He's working behind the scenes, and it has to be said, he's just had a little operation today, and he's been texting away in Discord already, giving people advice and keeping them on the right track. So he's back at work already. So thank you, Dave, and get well soon, mate.
Yeah, and here was you know, when you think you're going to get a little bit of respite and you're still sitting on in the hospital bed on Discord, as we see Robbie Stapleford. That is not exactly the way that you want to go and take the corner there through at 𝗪𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, but he gets it done, gets on there, and this is the problem that I always think when you leave this too late, is the fact that you've got all this pressure now. You've got 4.5 minutes. You can either have traffic, you can have an accident, you can have a mistake, and that ruins your chances. As we cut to the picture of the live time, and then just confirmation of your current pole sitter. Dean Riley jumps up while we were talking away there, the championship protagonist in the AMR V8 Vantage for Simsport Solutions. 1:28.347 steals that pole position away from 𝗦𝗦𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, and the gauntlet is now definitely thrown down to Robbie Stapleford. Robbie comes across the line then to start another lap here. Robbie into third place already without even blinking an eye, and that was doing rallycross through the chicane. So Steve, I mean, we've really got our hands full here with 4 minutes left to go qualifying. All eyes right now on Robbie Stapleford.
Yeah, I mean, I've just cut to Dean Riley there, because Dean's actually he's matching his best pace at the moment. In fact, he's at 2/10 up at this early part of the lap, so he's got more time in his lap as well. And for sure, Dean Riley, Robbie Stapleford, definitely the two quick guys to watch. As I said before, don't discount 𝗬𝗏𝗏𝗧𝗏, Chris Pinchbeck, 𝗬𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗧𝗏, Pasborn, Wilkes, you know, Yannick Moller. He's had his opportunity to win races as Yannick, and he through his own mistakes, Nurburgring springs to mind. He was out in the lead when he went off the track when he was under no real pressure. He put himself off the track and handed the lead to Robbie Stapleford, and that's not advisable because Robbie doesn't often give it back. Yeah, so there's a lot of quick guys, but Dean Riley certainly setting the pace. 2/10 up at the minute. Robbie Stapleford behind is 3/10 up, so if Dean carries this 2/10 advantage, Robbie's still not going to steal that pole position from him, but it's getting close, it's getting frenetic, and the battle is going to get harder. We've got just under 3 minutes to go.
Wow, this is incredible action we've got going on then. Robbie Stapleford jumps up then 127.9, but what can Riley do, because he's got this in the bag? He had 2/10. Surely this is going to be a pole for Dean Riley with 2.5 minutes left to go. Goes across the line. It's not enough. Stapleford pulls it out of the bag there. Stapleford with a 127.924. Dean Riley with a 127.972. Just 4/100ths of a second split apart. And my goodness me, talking about leaving it to the last gasp. 5 minutes ago we had 10 cars split by about 1.5 seconds. Now we've got 10 cars split by half a second. Such is the difference in the pace right now. This is incredible stuff right now.
Yeah, absolutely, and look at them, Robbie Stapleford still pushing, although he's 2/10 down on that previous best lap. Dean Riley there using all of and a bit more of the curb, getting that Aston Martin airborne through there. I'm not sure that'll help his time, although he is currently matching his previous best. He's just gained a 10th in that chicane there, so he has got the time. He's just got to get this lap together. He's got to hit all those apexes and just carry that speed and maintain that time advantage he's got now. He's currently round about a 10th up, which with that margin is enough. It is just enough, but and Robbie currently, as I say, he's not on a faster lap, so Robbie's now just coming round and he's going to start what will be his final flying lap, as Dean Riley will come round to complete this one and may actually just steal pole position away. He has got 2/10 up at this moment in time, and he comes out the final corner. Can he maintain that time advantage? Is he going to get it as the line? Was it a clean lap? He's lost a 10th, he's now a 10th up, but that's going to put him on pole position by the closest of margins there, David.
Oh my goodness me, and look at what this is doing to the rest of the field. Half a second now between these top three cars, just 0.05 of a second between Robbie Stapleford and Dean Riley there. That is an amazing lap pulled in from Dean Riley, and let's not forget he's got this one too. But what can Robbie Stapleford do on this qualifying? You see a huge pile of dust as a cone goes absolutely flying. We've got a Ferrari flying in the background. I think that might have been the 777 there of 𝗬𝗏𝗏𝗡 deciding to hop across the chicane there. Stapleford looking so smooth, so consistent around this corner here. 𝗬𝗏𝗏𝗡 up to third. We didn't get a chance to notice that. That's a cracking result there. So 𝗪𝗔𝗟𝗏𝗏𝗡 jumped down to 4th place, but still just half a second up. In fact, that is what 9 cars split by 0.8 of a second. Incredible pace here. But this is what it's all about. Robbie Stapleford coming down towards the final chicane. Does he have it in the bag? He's currently 0.05 of a second behind Dean Riley. It's all about the exit from the corner. He's going to come across the line now. Robbie Stapleford goes pole.
Wow.
120.3. Oh my goodness me, where did that come from? That is a monster of a lap. Can Riley respond? He goes across the line just now. He can, and only takes 3/1000 of a second off his previous time. My goodness me, that is going to have to go into the scrutineers, get checked for rockets on that thing. A huge pole position lap for Robbie Stapleford. And I'll tell you what, Steve, that is an absolute sign for the championship.
Absolutely. I mean, you talked about these drivers putting themselves under pressure. Well, 𝗏𝗏𝗡𝗏 did put himself under pressure, but boy, can he handle that pressure. That, for a young man so early on in his racing career, that is absolutely amazing. To pull a lap out of the bag like that in the final throws of qualifying, and not just take pole, but absolutely smash it out of the park by half a second. That's absolutely awesome, it has to be said.
Wow. Just wow, wow, wow. The cars are right ahead onto the grids. I'll double check the timing here because it's got a little bit wonky, but I think it is proper here. Robbie Stapleford on pole position, and Cormac at my screens, obviously Dean Riley in second, but it's saying here that 𝗏𝗏𝗡𝗏 took third place. Now, is that correct? Because obviously we saw maybe because Regan Mitchell is down to fourth place, and would you believe it, 𝗪𝗔𝗟𝗡𝗏, from the looks of it, has been punted all the way down to sixth place as 𝗪𝗏𝗡𝗏𝗏 takes fifth position. In fact, there we go, confirmation then. So that is one heck of a last lap for everyone. As I said, 𝗪𝗔𝗟𝗡𝗏 into sixth place there. Jordan Clarkson-Ruddock down into P7. 𝗪𝗏𝗏𝗡𝗏 in P8. Watch for him making his way through the field as well. Jonathan Seville in ninth place. Martin-Pilkington in 10th place in the Bentley. It's Martin-Pilkington in 11th place in that Lexus. I do love that Lexus. Such a good looking car. Simon Wilkes, despite his experience time on the track, only manages 12th place. 13th place for Steen Pasmont, and 14th place for Ashley Coupland. Rhys Wiggin in 15th. It's then going to be Rob Jackson in 16th place, and Yannick Muller in the back of the field at 17th position. But I've got to be honest, Steve, this just gives us enough time to draw our breath and think what on earth is going to happen. Because if I know what I think is going to happen, this is just going to be absolute warfare for the next 90 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, we've got a relatively small grid here this evening. I think this is the smallest one we've had. I've had a few sign-outs for various reasons and things like that. But yeah, it's going to be, if they can get away through the first few corners nice and clean. The smaller grids do tend to provide some really clean, close racing because the guys will really focus on that car in front. And Zolder is, like we've said, it's a difficult track to overtake on. You've really got to be on your A game to attack, and there's going to be some interesting manoeuvres, I feel, this evening. There's going to be some good battling. There's going to be some very frustrated drivers because there'll be some very good defending, I think. And, we don't be surprised if we see some cars staring at the back of the same car literally for the whole race. It can be as frustrating as that here at Zolder. But I'm really, really looking forward to this, and I just can't wait to get it underway. We've literally got 2 minutes to go as, we're waiting for them to start their parade lap.
Yeah, it's going to be absolutely fantastic, and I know obviously it left some jaws dropped on YouTube, but just while we've got this 2-minute countdown, Steve, we need to talk about that lap from Robbie Stapleford. I mean, that is outrageous to bring 0.3 of a second out of the bag on your final lap. I mean, do you think that he knew he had that in him and he was just leaving that till right at the end, or do you think that was just the mother of all qualifying laps?
No, I think Robbie's. I say he's a young driver, but he's a professional young man. He knows what he's doing. He practices hard. He will do what he has to do. He knows how fast he can go, and he's built up to that lap. Yes, he still has to put it together. He will have known that time was there, but he's a confident young man. You can see that in his driving, how confident he is. You don't leave your qualifying until the last sort of 7 or 8 minutes of a session if you're not confident, if you don't know what you've got in the bank, as it were. But it's having the ability to cash that lap in when it counts, and Robbie certainly did that. So yeah, I don't think he'll have surprised himself with that pace. I think he'll have known he had it in the bank. But yeah, absolutely awesome for him to be able to produce that lap, just more or less on demand. Couple of building up laps to it, and then just go out there, bang, there you go, that's it, job done. Fantastic driving.
Yeah, certainly is. And huge congratulations as well to Chris Pinchbeck in the number 43 Aston Martin, getting himself third place on the grid. That is just, I mean, we didn't really see him all through the qualifying. Was around about 10th place and then just absolutely nuke that car from orbit into third position. Fantastic lap, and again, strategy going to be such an important factor here with the cars limited to the 3 sets of tyres over practice, qualifying and the race as well. 90-minute race on the way next. If you've just joined us, very good evening. Welcome to Simsport Racing's GT3 Season 6, which is round 5 here from Zolder. David Christie and Steve Proudly bringing you all of the action from the penultimate rounds of the championship before we move on to Spa, the bigger, more illustrious, well-known sister track in Belgium in just 2 weeks' time on Sunday the 11th of July. If you want to keep in track with that, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button here on the YouTube channel and get yourself strapped in, because we are going on the green flag lap here at Zolder, this wonderful, flowing, fast, tight, technical circuit here, this 2.49, almost 2.5 mile circuit in the heart of 𝗬𝗏𝗏𝗏 in Belgium. So all eyes really have to be on towards the championship. Robbie Stapleford and Dean Riley locked in that battle, as it were, at just 133 points, 132 points or something like that between them on the individual championship, and then you move to the drivers' championship, where it is even closer than that just now between them, because obviously Apex Predator Simsport in second place with 711, but Simsport Solutions up in the lead with that 826 points right now. So yeah, I think this is now guts or glory for these two drivers.
Yeah, I mean, if I can ask you a question, David, I mean, what, as a driver, what does that do to you there? You know, you're Dean Riley, you've been fighting over pole position, and we're talking thousandths of a second, and then on the final lap you get smashed by half a second. And I mean, let's not make no bones about it, half a second in qualifying, it's a big margin. I mean, Robbie really has, let's not understate this, he really has smashed that lap out of the park. What does that do to you as the P2 on the grid? You know, I mean, how do you think about attacking this race now and thinking that Robbie's potentially got that pace under his belt and maybe is he going to be too much?
That's a great question. Well, firstly, me being the sarcastic Scottish person that I am, I'm straight in the Discord voice chat and demanding that scrutineers have a look at his rig. But in all seriousness though, while it is a blow, I mean, Dean knows that he's fast enough. He knows that he's fast enough to be up there. And yes, that is an amazing lap from Robbie Stapleford, but Dean will be trying to judge on just how much of that race pace that converts. We know that Robbie can be beaten, shown that last time out at Bathurst, where, you know, it was exactly the same, where it was Dean Riley that actually got the pole and took the win, but Robbie Stapleford was beaten. So it can happen. Can it happen twice on the bounce? We'll have to wait and see, but we're not going to have to wait long, because the car's exiting from the final corner to get into their 2x2x2 formation. They slow down and pull off into formation. We get ready to go live for 90 minutes of thrilling action racing here from Zolder. The cars cross the line, the green flag flies, and it's straight off and side by side. And that is a cracking start from Robbie Stapleford there. Gets the jump then on Dean Riley. Riley thrown back to the likes of Chris Pinchbeck, but it's all fairly orderly, apart from the 3 cars that have gone off into the wall at the back there. I think that is number 97, that's Jonathan Seville, that was caught up in that. He gets going again. There was another car caught up in that as well. And I think that was a 888 car that was into the back there. But it's all as you were as the cars go round through the back half of the circuit. Look at this 15-car train making its way through as Robbie Stapleford goes across, and Jonathan Seville gets a brief bit of glory as the timing board erroneously glitches him to the top there. He'll be screenshotting that one and saving that one for sure, but it's short-lived as it corrects itself as well. So the question is on Dean Riley, because look at that gap already. That's half a second that Stapleford has already opened out over on to Riley just now. And again, it's how well he can manage this gap, how well he can manage the tyres right now, because we've got 3 separate groups already within our first lap. You've got Regan Mitchell, who's got the jump on Chris Pinchbeck, got the move done and moves up back into third place there. But then look at Jordan Claxton Ruddock there. in the number 17 car in 5th place, doing a cracking job of holding on to that lead group. But quite honestly, looks like 𝗏𝗏𝗘𝗡𝗏 has bolted out of the gates, and he is away.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Robbie's got to get his head down, he's got to get away, and he knows he's got the pace in the car, and if he can get some fresh air between himself and Dean, obviously he can then start to manage the pace and manage the risks, as it were, and not push too hard, dare I say it. And it's good to see he's just running. I'm just watching him on the other screen, and he just ran a little wide there through that turn and took some gravel, but you know, no harm, no foul, he's still there. But it's looking like 𝗏𝗏𝗘𝗏𝗏's really wanting that P3 back from Regan Mitchell, but Regan is definitely not going to give it up easily. But Chris is tenacious, and he will attack, and he will keep pushing. Just want to say it's good to see 𝗏𝗏𝗔𝗏𝗏 back on the grid with us. Hasn't raced with us for some time, but he's always welcome back, and it's good to see him on the grid. Jordan is a very quick driver as well, and he does favour that Lamborghini, so don't be surprised if he can stay out of trouble. He may start climbing further towards the front. Martin-Pilkington in P6 having a fantastic race. Aaron is our resident commentator, as a lot of people will know, but he's jumped on track tonight to do a race, and he's already up to 6th place. So Aaron putting on a good showing as well. But back to 𝗏𝗏𝗘𝗏𝗏, and he's just about in this latter part of the lap. He's just lost a little bit of time and putting himself under pressure now with Jordan in that Lamborghini, and that's going to be a monster of a car now down the straight, and we already see 𝗏𝗏𝗘𝗏𝗏 defending before they get to turn 1.
Yeah, great move from 𝗏𝗏𝗘𝗏𝗏, and it looks like he's going to try and force that Lamborghini the long way around. He does. Great move there from 𝗏𝗏𝗘𝗏𝗏 to take that position from the Lamborghini, and I'll tell you what, he's going to have to watch out, because he's got the other car behind him there of Jordan 𝗪𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 there that's looking quite menacing as well, although it says that it is yeah, excuse me, sorry, that's completely the wrong thing that I'm looking at. We'll just ignore that whatsoever, because it was actually Jordan 𝗪𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 there. I was trying to think, well, why is it saying he's in a Lamborghini but he's in a Lexus? And 2x2 going into this chicane, that's never going to work, but it did! Somehow they both survived that, and Martin-Pilkington and Jordan 𝗪𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 managed to survive that there. So that gives Chris Pinchbeck a huge sigh of relief, because he was coming under massive pressure from that Lamborghini of Jordan there, and also that allows Regan Mitchell to stretch away. Now, 𝗏𝗏𝗘𝗏𝗏𝗏 was coming under a little bit of pressure there from Dean Riley, but that has now subsided. The gap was down to about 9/10 of a second, now back up to 1.5 seconds. So now we're starting to see predictably the field starting to stretch out now, and this is where the real, you know, endurance starts to come in from this. It's a sprint race, a 90-minute race, but again, you have to be on your toes for that full 90 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. We're seeing battles, as you say, up and down the field now. We're literally only just under 5 minutes into the race. Some of the guys have spread out into the groups, but equally there is still a lot of jostling for position at this moment in time. Just looking at Wilkes now, who again is another quick driver in this Aston Martin, manages usually to put in a very good performance in this car, but he's got 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 behind him in the Lamborghini, and now he's had a really mixed season as 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 this season. He's had a few issues here and there, a few off-track excursions that have cost him dearly. Maybe he's not quite as quick, I don't think, in the Lamborghini as he has been in some other cars that we've seen him in, but he'll certainly put on a good show here, and he's trying to put Wilkes under pressure, because he has Yannick Müller behind him. Again, Yannick, pretty quick driver, and as I said, he threw away a win in the Nurburgring round, so that just goes to show how quick Yannick can be. He potentially could be fighting on the front end, so he's not the ideal candidate to have behind you.
Yeah, and that's it. That's the great thing about championships like this, is the fact that no matter where you're going in the order, you've always got somebody else around you. And you can see that here, even down to this little fight. Simon Wilkes kind of in no man's land here, stuck between Mark Newtelings and 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, and then behind him he's got 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 and Müller behind him as well. So he's in a little bit of a gap between both little fighting groups, which is good for him, gives him a little bit of clear air. He can get down and focus in that 10th position, but he then has the boost of looking up the road and thinking, well, hang on, I can really make inroads here. He could easily get himself up to, say, 5th position as soon as these lot in front of him start fighting.
Yeah, absolutely, and Mark Newteling's not hanging around either with 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, who's trying to put the pressure on Kieran. it's good to see Mark having a good race. Just invested in the new PCs. Had a lot of headaches over the last week getting things set up, as anybody who's transferred everything onto a new PC will know. But it's good to see him now racing and back up to speed in what is, as we said, it's a really good looking Bentley. It's that fantastic livery by Mark Raddenbury of Positive Perceptions, who was some of the liveries for these guys. But yeah, that's one good looking Bentley. But 𝗓𝗏𝗏𝗧𝗏 on the back of 𝗪𝗔𝗟𝗘𝗡𝗗𝗏 now, so Adam's had a little bit of an issue somewhere because he's dropped back from Martin-Pilkington. So yeah, the battles are to and fro-ing. The seesaw is in full effect, and the guys are really fighting hard at the moment.
And that's it. It's very, very easy to overdrive the car in these situations where you're maybe pushing a car or trying to catch up with a car and hold on with a car that's maybe a little bit faster than you are able to drive the car, and you end up overdriving it. The tyres get hot and sticky, and that compounds the situation, and you start getting slower and slower. But 𝗏𝗏𝗘𝗡𝗏, I mean, he is just a man on a mission right now, firing in these lap times. 2.5 seconds is the gap that he's got as Martin-Pilkington gets it all wrong coming out of that corner there, trying to catch on to the back of 𝗪𝗔𝗠𝗏𝗡𝗏𝗏, and that will never work, and that in fact leaves him vulnerable to 𝗪𝗔𝗟𝗏𝗏𝗘, who unfortunately hasn't had the best of starts. He was in 6th place, has now went backwards, and he's got 𝗬𝗓𝗏𝗏𝗧𝗏 looking all over the back of him. So you see 𝗪𝗏𝗏𝗧𝗏𝗏 trying to fend off that 143 car just behind him of Yannick Müller, and I've got to be honest, the Audi looking so dangerous right now.
Yeah, he's a quick car, is that Audi. Not sure how well suited it is to the track, but the Audi and the Lamborghini are obviously very similar cars. But that Audi is looking very aggressive, very menacing, and it's looking like it's wanting to take away that 11th place at the moment. And it's looking like it's not going to take him long to do it. He just needs to prise that door open. He just needs to get that opportunity, and he just needs to utilise the pace that he's obviously got. He's showing his nose for the inside, but he's too far back there. That would have been a full set. But he was too far back. He's going to drop back in again. He's going to utilise the slipstream. Now into the final chicane. He's not the easiest overtaking area, but that's not to say he won't give it a go as we're watching now. But now the Lamborghini just seems to have the legs on him as it comes out of the corners, and he's catching him through the corners, and it's too late then. The move needs to have been done by that point.
Absolutely, I think the Lamborghini has the straight line power, but I think that Audi has that pace, that consistency through the corners to make it stick. You see there as he exits through that first corner there, down into corner number 2, through that right-hander. The Audi just looks so much more planted, which ironically could be further from the truth with the Audi, because it's such a notoriously unstable, unforgiving car that if you do struggle with it, then it will bite you very violently and very quickly indeed. But the Lamborghini, quite honestly, looks to have the match on that Audi right now as we move back up to 𝗪𝗔𝗟𝗏𝗏𝗘𝗏𝗏, who is just ahead of the Aston Martin of 𝗬𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏. But look at that, Martin-Pilkington's coming into this little party as well, and he fancies a little go here. Back up with your leader 𝗏𝗏𝗘𝗡𝗏𝗏 for 3.5 seconds now ahead of Dean Riley, and quite honestly, I mean, that could be the championship. A huge championship implications for that, for the fact that Dean Riley obviously will be the scoring those strong points. But it's all about what could have been, because quite honestly, I mean, how do you stop a man like 𝗏𝗏𝗘𝗡𝗏𝗏?
You just have to get the lap times. I mean, that is the only way. He's such a machine. The scary thing is he's getting quicker. You know, I've watched Robbie race for a good few months now, and seen him on the AC platform, the ACC platform, and he's raced with us at Simsport in the GT4s, GT3s, and he's getting quicker and quicker. He's gone from battling in the mid-pack with some of these guys to now actually where he is now, absolutely dominating this race with 11 minutes into the race, and he already has a 4-second lead. And that's not because Dean Riley's not pushing, because Dean Riley is a good couple of seconds up the road from 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, who, as you've said, is no slouch. These guys are all quick in their own right, but what 𝗏𝗏𝗘𝗡𝗏𝗏 is doing this evening is just outstanding, and it's just a real, it's a testament to what he's been doing, how he's developed, the practice he puts in, the effort he puts in, and the results have come this season.
It's absolutely incredible stuff that we're seeing right now. Robbie Stapleford is actually going fast enough to take third place on the grid right now. 1:28.101 is the time on that last lap from Robbie Stapleford. The gap now 4.1 seconds, and for him, the danger that he's got is that this seems like a foregone conclusion, and then you start getting lap traffic to deal with as well, and that'll be coming up very, very soon. As we see Martin-Pilkington for Simsport Racing all over the back of, I believe that's Chris Pinchbeck that is in front of him in the Aston Martin. Indeed it is, moves over one side to the other. He'll try and go around the long way, and that's not going to work, but he might get the cut back. That's a good run from Martin-Pilkington, tries to go around the outside, but that is exemplary defensive driving there from Chris Pinchbeck. Just put the car exactly where it needed to be and make it sure that Martin-Pilkington couldn't get that done.
Yeah, absolutely, and Matt 𝗏𝗏𝗧's really putting on a good show tonight, making 𝗪𝗏𝗏𝗧𝗏 really work for that 8th position. He's really keeping that Aston Martin under pressure. As we've seen, 𝗪𝗏𝗏𝗧𝗏 has managed to just pull a little bit of a gap. He's going back up towards the rear end of John, although through that chicane he really lost some ground there, and 𝗪𝗏𝗏𝗧𝗏, as we saw, just hop, skip and a jump, and he was through, and he's back onto the back of Adam. That's how much more speed he carried, but with that comes great risk through that chicane, as we said in the introduction. It can bite you, and it can turn the car full 180 degrees, have you facing the wrong way at the click of a fingers. So it's brave of Kieran to do that, but also you need to, things like that in ACC, you do need to watch your tyre pressures as well. Hitting the curbs constantly as hard as that. We could find ourselves with a few drivers with punches, a few drivers having to be forced to swap tyres in those pit stops. It's a long way to go, and the cars just need to be looked after a little bit. So don't be surprised to see Kieran maybe just taking a more conservative line through that chicane as the race pans on.
I feel like I should frame that statement there just to see what is going to happen with those two, because Kieran, I think that's what he should do, but we all know that racer brain is pretty much non-functional when you're in the slipstream of the car in front. All you can see is any opportunity for getting past that there, but that would be the sensible thing for 𝗪𝗏𝗏𝗧𝗏, just to ease off a little bit and sort of take the pressure off. But Chris Pinchbeck under increasing pressure now from Martin-Pilkington in that number 38 machine. He does look so aggressive here. This is great driving right now, because all he's doing behind is just keeping the pressure on and forcing Chris Pinchbeck into making a mistake of his own doing right now. 15 minutes into a 90-minute race, that's exactly what you want to do. If this is where your pace is, this is where you're going to be. This is, you just keep the laps coming in, you just keep the car in front under pressure and let them make a mistake. You don't want to be putting your car in any compromising positions, risking damage and potentially risking your race.
Yeah, absolutely, and we say it so often when commentators on races, when talking about the races, quite often it's not, as you say, it's not about forcing that door open and getting the overtake done. It's about applying pressure, being consistent, driving within a couple of tenths of the car in front, keeping his mirror full of you, and the mistake will come. The most solid of drivers, the driving under pressure like that for 90 minutes, it tells. And Martin-Pilkington doing a cracking job at the moment of keeping Chris Pinchbeck under pressure, but we've seen Chris Pinchbeck so far, he knows how to defend his place in that Aston Martin, make sure he's on the right piece of tarmac. Couple of little mistakes here and there, but nothing that Pilkington can absolutely capitalise on. And through that this early part of the lap, the Aston Martin does just seem to have the legs on the Lexus behind him, but when they get past this first chicane now, we'll see Pilkington, he does tend to close right back up on Pinchbeck, but there's nothing he can do. Pinchbeck has that car parked, although having said that, little bit of a mistake there, and he's got Pilkington up around the outside of him now, will turn into the inside. Will they go 2x2 through the chicane? A little bit of contact there, nothing too aggressive, and that's job done. Pilkington, that's for that chicane, David, that was pretty clean.
Yeah, a fantastic manoeuvre there, and that required both drivers to agree to that. Pinchbeck could have kept his nose in and fought that harder, but for his own safety, he wisely pulled out of it, regrouped, see what you can do, and there was an air of inevitability about that, because as we said, the 38 was just so fast in that straight line trying to get him done. Rhys Wiggin here, we're watching under increasing pressure from Jonathan Seville, the recovering car, that 97, doing a great job actually, because he was stone last, and getting that car back up into, what's that, 14th position, 14th position, trying to take 13th right now. So strong charge, good recovery drive from him, but it's going to be a case of what could have been as he tries to fire up the inside there. I always get so nervous when I see that. Gets it done. Rhys Wiggin tries to keep the foot in. He's going to keep the position again. Look at that. That means that Kelsey around the outside. Well, that appeared from absolutely nowhere, didn't it?
Absolutely, what an opportunist, and you cannot knock the guy for that. I mean, you know, Seville, obviously, he ran deep into that corner while trying to get down the inside of Wiggin. Just didn't quite manage it, bit of contact, so he lifted off, and thank you very much, boys. I'll have a go at that. As it happens, he didn't get past, but he's put him right back in the fight. He's right there, he's Kelsey with him, and he's chasing, and he'd do a lot worse than to hang on to the back of Seville and maybe try and get pulled through the pack a little bit. But we can see he's already dropping off the back a little bit. Seville's now repositioned himself behind Rhys Wiggin, and he's going to, I think he's going to try and make a move. I'll put my neck on the line and say he's going to try and make a move into his hairpin. He can't get much closer than he is now. He's got the run coming out. He's going to position it to the inside. He's going to be late on the brakes. There we go. Can he get it parked? Can he get it turned? Yes, he can. He's got the exit. He's got the position onwards, and now he'll be chasing past one now for P12.
Again, another air of inevitability, but the man on the move is Kelsey there, looking very, very racy indeed, just on the back of that. And as we cut there to from Steve's point of view there, we cut to, I think that was 𝗪𝗔𝗟𝗘𝗡𝗚, Dago and Martin-Pilkington in a four-way scrap as well. So this is bubbling over nicely as well. Just want to give you a little bit of context then for everyone watching at home. Robbie Stapleford, right? I mean, Mr. Consistent, 128.5, 127.9, 128.1, 128.0, 128.2, 128.4, 128.2. Half a second every single lap faster than every single person in the field. I don't actually have words for that.
No, absolutely. I mean, you know, we'll just quickly cut to him now and have a look at the gap now. I mean, you can see there he's absolutely, you know, he's commanding that lead. He's in that first place for a reason. 12 laps completed, 5.7 seconds, and I'm sure that's going to keep growing. I'm sure, you know, it's just the consistency, as you say, consistently quicker than everybody else, but consistency is key, and he's putting those laps in. He's not really putting a foot wrong. He's not that we've seen anyway, and he's just managing to get those laps in, get the job done, and you know, he's got one hand on the championship already. I think after tonight it's pretty much job done. It's almost over before we get to Spa, although I think there'll be a few more points on the table when we do get Spa. I'm not making a mistake, runs a little bit wide there. You know, come on Robbie, 1 hour 10 minutes to go. You don't need to start making mistakes. You just need to not push as hard, and maybe, you know, he could afford to shave a tenth or two, you know, away from his lap time, to be a little bit slower and just be more consistent. If I dare say that, because he's pretty consistent already, but just, you know, just wind it back a little bit, just a little bit. That's easy for us to say, but you know, I've said it. He's not going to do that, is David? He's definitely not going to do it.
Yeah, I can't see that happening. For another reason that I'll throw into the mix with that is that when you get drivers that are this fast, anything other than this is what leads to accidents happening for them. So I've talked about this at great length on other races where the drivers get into the state called flow, which is where it's almost like an autopilot when you're on an endurance race and you're 20 minutes into a 40-minute stint, and then suddenly you can't remember how you've just done the rest of your stint. That's called flow, where you're on that autopilot mode, and that's where if you're outside of that, that's where the accidents can happen. If you're not pushing as hard as you can, or you're just sort of holding back a little bit, yeah, it's it can usually go wrong quite quickly. But still, 70 minutes left to go in the race, an hour and 9 minutes left to go in this penultimate round of the Simsport Racing Assetto Corsa Competizione GT3 Season 6 here from Zolder. Fantastic race that we've got unfolding before our very eyes. Robbie Stapleford takes the lead ahead of Dean Riley, took the pole position, commanding pole position, and he's led ever since. Great result as well so far for Regan Mitchell. He is in third place, securely in third place, and ahead of the 38 of Martin-Pilkington in that Lexus. It's Pinchy in fourth place there, Chris Pinchbeck in the 43 Aston Martin, and Jordan Claxton Ruddick in sixth place there for the Lamborghini number 17 outfit. And again, under pressure, I think, right now, 𝗦𝗪𝗔𝗟𝗘𝗏𝗧, as we go to a replay here. This is going to be the start, a cracking start, as you can see at the top from Robbie Stapleford. Dean Riley, top left is Robbie Stapleford, gets that inside line to the first corner. And Dean Riley, very lucky because, he could have been compromised there. Oh, and that is the contact there. And in fact, that was 𝗦𝗪𝗔𝗟𝗘𝗏𝗧, I'm pretty sure, that kind of caused that initial contact there.
Yeah, I mean, you're not quite sure, because I know it looked like Ranjiv Kelsey and 𝗬𝗪𝗔𝗏 just came together for some reason. I'm not quite sure. I'd say it was Adam's fault, or I'm not quite, don't want to put my neck on the line for that one. But yeah, Seville was very much the innocent party there, and very, very unfortunate for him to get taken out like that at that point. But yeah, he's having a cracking drive back. He's up to P12 now, and just thought I'd take an opportunity to have a look at that. It's always good to watch the race when it starts back again with a little bit, in a little bit of a relaxed manner, shall we say, David, where you get to just observe from the helicopter and see who did what wrong.
Oh, for sure. And quite honestly, I don't think there's anything else that Dean Riley could have done. He was obviously very lucky not to get collected, as we see Chris Pinchbeck losing out that fourth place to Martin-Pilkington, who now jumped in there as well. But realistically, I don't think there's anything else that he could have done to hold on to Robbie Stapleford. We know that Stapleford has got pace right now, and quite honestly, Stapleford is going to have to be his own downfall, or at least for Dean Riley's hopes, to actually get anything else out of this race. Otherwise, he's just going to be happy with the championship to take second place.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's like you said, the lap times, last lap for Stapleford was a 1:26.6, Dean Riley was a 1:28.6, and Dean Riley was a 1:28.6 also. So the lap times have got a little bit closer, but that's not because Dean's upped the pace. That's because Stapleford's backed off a little bit. His previous best, I believe, his best lap is a 1:27.9. So he's still got the lap times there, but I think he's managing that gap maybe a little bit now. He's looking at it and thinking, you know what, I maybe don't need to push quite as hard now, and I can manage this time. We're going to come to the pit stops in the next sort of 15-20 minutes, where a few are going to start to make those stops, and then it will be a sprint to the checkered flag. But like you say, it's Robbie's race. It's his to lose now, and the only way he's going to lose this is if he makes a mistake.
For sure. Strategy obviously going to come into the forefront very, very soon with the pit stop coming up. I would imagine they're going to try and, certainly from Dean Riley's point of view, I think he's going to watch Robbie Stapleford now either try to undercut him or overcut him, do something different to what the race leader's doing. But I mean, that gap is just going up and up, at almost a second a lap now. Dean Riley dropping away at the rate of knots, but the gap between Riley and Mitchell isn't coming down either, so still a lot to play for. What I am interested though is that the gap between Mitchell and Martin-Pilkington is starting to squeeze itself down a little bit as well here. So yeah, interesting to see as we see Ranjiv Kelsey trying to catch on to the back of Rhys Wiggin in the number 667 machine. Ranjiv has been very, very impressive this evening. He's kept himself to himself. He's been taking opportunities wherever he can. And if the start was a little bit different, you think that maybe he could have been a little bit further up the grid.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Ranji is affectionately known within the Simsport community as the 𝗪𝗡𝗡 Ferrari driver, because he will not drive any other car. He just drives the Ferrari in ACC, and he's a consistent driver. He puts in some good performances. He's a driver that's been with us for a few years, again on AC through to ACC, and been an absolute joy to watch a guy that when he first joined us on our servers was getting lapped after 6 or 7 laps to now he actually, he gets some good mid-table finishes, and in some of the other races he's even had the odd podium. But it's always good to see the community members, improving with practice, improving with some of the quality that's on these grids that they're racing against. It always brings people on, and if anybody wants to get involved with the community, obviously just look us up on Discord. If you go to our website www.simsport-racing.com, there are links to all our social media. In the YouTube description there are links also. Get involved. Anybody of any standard is very, very welcome to race with us, and as you can see from the racing this evening, it is always clean, fair racing. Anything that is deemed to be unfair, we do have stewards that look at racing incidents afterwards and will make judgments on those after watching many, many replays.
And just want to touch on what you said there about it's great to see drivers from the community improving, and it's such a strange thing, isn't it, Steve? Because obviously yourself and myself, we do lots of different communities that we're part of, and it honestly is this genuine sense of pride when you see these same names week in, week out, and you see the difference in how they're improving, their racecraft coming on, their pace coming on, their aggressiveness coming on. It genuinely leaves you with this really strange feeling of pride and happiness when you're watching them out on track, almost like you're kind of living through them, and it's just a fantastic that we're part of their little storyline here in the community. So great to see 𝗓𝗔𝗡𝗧 coming on in leaps and bounds, and quite honestly I think he's going to have 𝗓𝗏𝗏 within the next couple of laps, because he's looking very, very dangerous, and maybe that's a little bit too dangerous, and that was almost a punt from space. Thankfully, I think he just locked up the brakes and managed to avoid 𝗓𝗏𝗏, which means he can just get back on it and get that place back.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there was Reese almost went to turn in there and thought 𝗓𝗏𝗏 was sending it, as it were, and he wasn't, and there was just like that uncertainty in the braking zone, and I think Reese slowed this car down just a little bit more than normal. Yeah, I think he slowed it down a little bit more than he normally would, and that's why 𝗓𝗏𝗏 tapped him. I don't think it was. Again, I think it was one of those things. I don't think it was any anger from 𝗓𝗏𝗏, any malice. It was just one of those unfortunate incidents. But like you say, he's going to be back on it now, and I don't think it'll be long before he's back on the bumper of Rhys Wiggin. This one's interesting. Martin-Pilkington's 𝗬𝗓𝗏𝗧. Now, 𝗬𝗓𝗓𝗏 is a quick lad. You've seen him race in other communities. I've seen him, racing for the last sort of couple of years here. He is quick. Martin-Pilkington, he's putting on a good show to try and stay with 𝗬𝗓𝗏𝗧 tonight, but not only stay with him, he's putting him under pressure. He's making him work, isn't he? He's really, well, we see Matt make a mistake there, but yeah.
You've just jinxed him, that's what you've done, Steve. You've jinxed him. I was just about to say, while you were saying that, while that battle's going on, you've got Regan Mitchell now, who's fighting for his life to hold on to that position ahead of Martin-Pilkington, who's come on in leaps and bounds. That Lexus is really starting to stretch his legs, and has been taking about 0.4 of a second off of poor Regan Mitchell every single lap. And I've got to be honest, this could be done, and if that Lexus does get past, he might be able to start working on that gap towards Dean Riley. It is an off shot, but it could very well happen as we head towards an hour left to go in this race, and Regan Mitchell is a bit of a sitting duck right now. The Lamborghini is fast, but I wonder if it is starting to wear through its tyres.
Yeah, no, from yourself, from your opinion, it's like we watch these races and we know these drivers are quick. We know they're, I won't say better than they're performing, but Martin-Pilkington is a quick driver, Regan Mitchell is a quick driver, but the way that gap's come down in the last couple of laps, you almost want to think, well, what's wrong with Regan? Where's the pace gone? Because he should be, holding on to that gap. I wouldn't say that Martin-Pilkington couldn't catch him, but I wouldn't have expected that gap down to come down as quick as that. And it's going to be a real interesting one now to watch and to see them, and to see if Aaron can actually make any moves on Regan and get past. Because as we've seen before, both of us have seen, Regan knows how to defend. He's a quick driver, but he can also defend. And let's see what happens now as Aaron is going to start going through maximum attack over the next couple of laps on it.
I think you're absolutely spot on with that. I'm just having a quick look at Regan Mitchell's lap times actually here, and there's nothing that jumps out. It's not like he's had a really poor lap. He's doing 1:29.5s, and Martin-Pilkington there, very different. He's doing 1:28.7s, 1:28.8s, very consistent. But ironically, that last lap was actually his slowest lap, so he's probably caught up to 𝗏𝗏𝗔𝗏𝗏𝗏, and it's now a bit of a roadblock while he's getting held up. So he's obviously got the pace here. But again, as we know, pace is fantastic, but if you can't get past the person in front, then it's absolutely useless. So Martin-Pilkington fancying his chances at getting a podium here. If this was me and I was Aaron right now, I'd be looking to make the pit stop as soon as possible, knowing that I've got the pace advantage over 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, get the pit stop out of the way sooner, and then try and do him on the undercut.
Yeah, for sure. I'm just going to bring us a replay just as soon as I can find it, because while we were watching that, we missed Mark Neuttling's actually managing to get a move done on 𝗬𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 in front. So not only was he putting him under pressure, but he's got the job done.
Absolutely, not just that, but Wilkes has got past 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 as well, so I'm wondering if there's like been maybe a little bit of escorting out to the edge of the track limits there from 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, because they were, it's safe to say they were a little bit ahead of Wilkes, but that's quite a gap here. Let's have a look here at the replay in question as we have a look at the. In fact, is it going to be a mistake? He looks way too far back. That a great run out of that corner there from the Bentley, moves to the side, one side, then the other. It's going to have to be, because for 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 to go back the way that he did, yeah, tries to cut back on the inside of the chicane, showing the door, and that's it. He just loses all of the momentum from the chicane there. Great move though, you've got to say, Steve. I absolutely just had confidence to fire the car in and got that done. In fact, there you go, 𝗬𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 into pit lane.
Yeah, maybe he's decided. Maybe, you know, hitting those curbs, as we said earlier, maybe that has caused him some issues with his tyres. So maybe he's losing some ground. Maybe that final blow on the curb has just, you know, like say the handling issues with low tyre pressures, and he's maybe having to pit, which will mean he's changing tyre pressures. We just see Pilkington there, just such a much better line through the chicane. He's literally got around the outside of 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, and he's stolen that third place away. We the commentators are going to have to interview the commentator at the end of the race if that's where he finishes.
He's such an attention seeker, isn't he? He loves the limelight. Martin-Pilkington, not content with being the centre of attention in the commentary box, does a move like that. And I've got to be honest, if you're going to pull a move to get past 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, it's got to be something like that. And that was very, very worthy. On for a podium right now for our Martin-Pilkington in the Lexus. And again, that pace that he's got, I'm going to quickly check on what he's doing compared to Dean Riley. He's still doing his 1:28s, but Dean Riley in the low, I think 1:29s for him just now. Yeah, so Dean Riley losing out a little bit of pace. The gap is, what's that, about 8 seconds between Riley and Martin-Pilkington. It's coming down, but by 2/10 a lap, you're probably going to be looking about 10, 12, 15 laps before it even gets close. So it could be done, but it's going to be quite special if our Martin-Pilkington manages to pull that off. And quite honestly, Steve, could you bear it if Aaron actually got second place out of this?
Yeah, he's a great guy. He's Pilko. He's a great commentator, but he is a great racer. I mean, he's had some phenomenal results. Not just in our leagues, in other leagues. He's, and let's not forget, up until 6 o'clock tonight, he was going to be commentating. So he's jumped into the rig with less than an hour to go. A lot less practice than all the other guys out there racing, and he's up into P3. I mean, that's got to tell you something about the guy, because as we keep saying, these guys that he's racing are not slow guys. He's absolutely astounding, solid performance from him, and I hope he can. Yeah, I would love to have him in the commentary box for an interview at the end of this one, having completed it on the podium. We could let's see what questions we can get. Let's get some challenging ones. If anyone's got any ideas, throw them in the YouTube chat, and we'll if we can get Aaron in at the end, we'll see if we can get some awkward questions for him that are suitable for the stream.
Oh, so, oh right, okay. I had like 50 ready to go just in the YouTube chat there. Just to bring you up to date with Yannick Müller has had to unfortunately retire from the race. He is in quite a lot of real life pain on his foot, so he's recovering from an injury, and that flared up again just before the race, and obviously proving just a bit too much for him. And again, it's the kind of untold element of sim racing. For a lot of the newbies to the sport, for those watching at home, Steve, you'll be able to attest to the fact that they think it's a lot of sweaty old guys sitting in their bedroom on a Sunday night. And while for the most part that used to be true, it's kind of definitely gone away from that, and the physical toll that gets put on sim racing drivers it really is quite something, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. With the equipment that we use these days, you know, the direct drives and even the belt drives, they offer a good amount of feedback. The brake pedals, you know, the resistance in the brake pedals, they match the real world cars. As we see Robbie Stapleton just making another little mistake. He's just not wanting to win this one too easily, is he? He's wanting to keep himself awake, and I think maybe there's something in what you said there about running such a lonely race that it is easy to make those little mistakes, but thankfully so far nothing that's going to take him off the track. But yeah, you know, the equipment that we use and the, you know, everything, it's supposedly as close to the real world as possible. So, you know, the effort you have to put in to turn the steering wheel, the effort you have to put in, it's all there. The only thing that's missing are the G-forces that attack your body when you're in a real world race car. You don't quite have those, but I tell you what really does demand a lot of, it creates a lot of tiredness, a lot of fatigue, and that is the concentration that's required. You know, I mean, you do a 30-minute race, a 60-minute race, and you know about it, but when you're doing an hour and a half and upwards, and some of these guys, you know, we've seen 6-hour races, 12-hour races, 24 hours, they are so demanding, and you cannot get away from that. You know, the mental exhaustion of concentration for so long is hard work. And when you're in the position that we see on the screen now of Pinchbeck, who seems to be constantly you know, in the thick of the action, as he's got past Regan Mitchell also, sorry, he's chasing Regan Mitchell down, he's got Jordan Ruddock behind him, he's defending from Ruddock, and he's been defending for the whole of the race. This isn't easy, it's not an easy position to be in, and his senses will be on such high alert, and his concentration levels will be through the roof, and he will be absolutely exhausted by the end of this race.
Yeah, another thing to throw into that factor as well is some of these drivers actually using VR headsets as well, going round, and I've got one as well, and the exhaustion levels that adds to you having this heavy hot headset on your face for an extended amount of time is absolutely unreal. The only thing you can compare it to is actually having your helmet on in a race car, because the sweat that it builds up and the heat that it builds up is absolutely intense. It really is. And when you do these endurance races, yet another factor that you've got, Steve, is the fact that if it's a team race as well. So I've done endurance races as part of a team, albeit not very well. And the pressure you feel is absolutely incredible, because obviously you're like, it doesn't matter that it's sim, I still don't want to hand my teammates a broken car. I don't want to be the one responsible for pulling us out of the race. So the pressure on performance from yourself is amplified on that one as well, and especially coming up to the tail end of the season, Steve, this is going to be absolutely massive for some of these drivers who are sharing the car, and we'll find that out in just a couple of minutes' time.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's like I say, the VR headset does add something to it. I mean, see Robbie there. Robbie is pushing hard. I'm going to talk about Robbie because he's sliding there. We've seen him go off track. His last lap time was a 1:30.2. Riley's was a 1:29.2. So he's pulled a second back on him there. We're seeing that gap. He's coming down. Robbie's, there's a few mistakes creeping into his driving at this moment in time, and he's just losing a little bit of ground to Dean Riley, and Dean Riley in turn is losing time still to Aaron Martin-Pilkington, although he's still got a relatively healthy gap. But yeah, he's just losing out a little bit there. Do you think the fact he's not actually racing anyone physically on track is selling for Robbie now?
I wonder about the track conditions because the track is now optimum, and obviously the tyres is going to be an issue as well. He's also flirting dangerously close to the grass on the braking areas as well. And as you said, 2 laps in a row now, he's lost consistent amount of time to 𝗦𝗓𝗏. He's coming up towards the final chicane just now, so we'll keep an eye on that. That gap now down to 9.4 seconds. I'll tell you what, I wonder if his tyres are starting to go as well. I wonder, because he's been on that pace right now, that blistering qualifying pace. He goes across the line just now. He's back down now into the 1:29.685s. But given that all of the race, Steve, he's been doing 1:28, and now we're suddenly at least a second slower. I don't know. I'm now wondering about the pace of that car. We'll see as 𝗦𝗓𝗏 comes across the line just now. He goes across and does a 1:29.448. But again, it's yeah, a lot of questions waiting to be answered. That gap now nearly 10 seconds. But yeah, I'm going to call it right here. I think Martin-Pilkington is going to take this win.
Really? Now that's a big call. Now, yeah, Pilkington at the moment is one of, if not the fastest man just about on track. 𝗬𝗏𝗏, I think, was slightly quicker than him on the last lap, but only talking about a tenth, and 𝗬𝗏𝗏's down in P10, so he's not really a challenge to Pilkington. But what I'm going to say now is Pilkington's out there and he's putting in these respectable laps. They're not, you know, on new tyre pace, as it were, for obvious reasons, but the way that Pilkington could win this race is if he just goes in and grabs that bit of fuel, doesn't change tyres, because I think 𝗡𝗏𝗏𝗏 and Riley will change tyres. As we see 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 now with a drive-through, that will be for track limits, so he's exceeding track limits and gained an advantage on 4 occasions, so he's now got to serve a drive-through on top of his pit stop, so that is going to send him way down the order. That's pretty much the end of his top 10 fight, I would say, this evening. But yeah, Pilkington, if he goes in the pits, takes fuel, comes back out, he could jump Riley for sure. He could get up somewhere near to 𝗡𝗏𝗏𝗏. It's whether he would have the pace to keep those guys behind him if they choose to put new tyres on.
And that is absolute heartbreak for Jordan Claxton-Ruddock. They're getting the drive-through penalty. Martin-Pilkington doing a 1:29.157, taking another 0.3 of a second out of second place 𝗦𝗓𝗏𝗏. That gap now starting to stretch out again, as any concerns that we had about Robbie Stapleford, I think, are maybe short-lived, because he's back into the 1:29 flats and almost back onto the pace that he had before. But that track temperature at 29 degrees is going to start being an issue in about 15 minutes time. Now, McLaren and the Lamborghinis, well known for struggling on these tyres. Now, I don't know about you, Steve, but I get real heart and mouth moments when I start seeing these cars inching towards the grass on these braking areas, because it's just, you know, a tiny little ½ millimetre slip to the right hand side and they're going to be into the barriers there.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all about precision, and we're just going to see from the front splitter of Robbie Stapleford's car now how close he gets to the inside of the curbs and running onto the grass through what has to be said, this early part of the lap. It's where we've seen him make 1 or 2 mistakes. You can just see the car rotating. It's still rotating very nicely. It's going where he wants it to go. It's not, doesn't seem to be lazy, although he's suffering a little bit of understeer there maybe through that corner. It's not quite turned as quick as he wanted to. This is the corner where we've seen him make a few mistakes. Didn't quite go out as wide as I thought he might to go into that corner. Didn't hit the apex, was a little bit wide of it, but that would tell me there he'd backed off a little bit, because equally he didn't run wide. So he's still pushing, but I don't think he's pushing as hard. A pretty good line through the chicane there and up the hill now into the shall we say, slightly slower and more technical part of the track now. But he's still doing a good job. He's always makes me worry there when they take that chicane and they cut so much track. You can get away with cutting a lot of track, but there are limits, and as we've seen already for Ruddock, he's got a drive through. As we've seen, Pilkington, Mitchell, 𝗍𝗏𝗏𝗏, all in the pits now, so it's going to start to get a little bit interesting further up the field now, and seeing what tactics we're going to know pretty quickly what Pilkington do. Let's see how long he's going to be in the pits for.
And into the pit lane then comes Robbie Stapleford, pulls the car in, and whoa, that was a rate of knots that car gets brought into as well. Jordan Clarkson-Ruddock still has to bring the car in for a drive-through penalty. 45 minutes left to go in this penultimate round of the Simsport Racing GT3 Season 6 Championship. Martin-Pilkington pulls the car out. He's very lucky not to breach the white lines there and get into even more trouble. But here comes Robbie Stapleford into pit lane there. Yep, so they're second place into pit lane as well. And any thought of doing the undercut is kind of gone with that one, unless there's a change in strategy. So it's going to be absolutely fascinating to watch the pit stops here.
Yeah, just interesting to see, like I said, the timer ticking down to see how long they're stationary for, to see if either of them or take tyres. I think Robbie's definitely on for taking tyres at this moment in time. Dean Riley, I think he'll take tyres as well. I'm not quite sure what Aaron's stationary time was in the pits, so it's just we're gonna have to rely on track position when these guys come out to see if he's managed to close the gap up at all to the back of Dean, and potentially if he did just take fuel, leapfrogging.
Oh, and so a development with Jordan Clayton-Ruddock there. It's now a stop-go penalty because he's not done his drive-through. Kieran Vidago getting a drive-through penalty as well. So Kieran, after that recovery drive, that is an absolutely monumental. In fact, Clarkson-Ruddock gets disqualified from the race, and again, that's not going to be for not serving his drive-through in 3 laps there. I mean, that's quite unbelievable.
Yeah, it's disappointing to see, isn't it? I mean, Kieran Vidago's just diving into the pits now to take his drive-through. It's going to be very, very painful, as obviously he's only just more or less been into the pits to do his pit stop, and that's going to pop him down the order now, back into the hands of Seville and Kelsey maybe, and he's going to have to fight from the back again for the last 40 minutes or so. Yeah, it's always disappointing to see, but it's the same for everybody. We've got Dean Riley there showing as 4th on the track because Rhys Wiggin, who's in 3rd, has got to make his pit stop yet. Robbie Stapleford in 2nd, and Paspon still in 1st place now, but he does have to make a pit stop. Paspon, I'm going to say this, he won't take tyres. Paspon is going to go long, and he's going to go virtually to the end of the race, and he's going to jump in for a litre of fuel and see where that shakes out.
It's an interesting strategy if that's what he is going to do there, because the time difference between him and the cars behind him is quite substantial. He's lapping in the 1:30.5, so that is about 1.5 seconds slower than Robbie Stapleford once Robbie Stapleford gets that car on full chat. As Stapleford goes across the line, so does Dean Riley to start lap number 32 here at Zolder. What a race we've had so far, and again it's still, I mean, you've got to feel like it's Robbie Stapleford's race to be lost here right now. But as far as any of the other positions right now go, Dean Riley looking very, very good. But, I mean, for me, Martin-Pilkington is a bit of a dark horse right now. I just don't know what he's going to be able to do with this. I think he lost a little bit of time out in the pit lane there. That gap now about 11 seconds between Riley and Martin-Pilkington. Regan Mitchell as well seems to be kind of going backwards at the moment, and Rhys Wiggin into pit lane just now. But again, with 40 minutes left to go now, this is go time now between Robbie Stapleford and Dean Riley.
Yeah, and I think, to be fair, Stapleford had the quicker pit stop by the looks of it, because he pulled a bit of time out on Dean Riley. We can see that gap's back up over 11 seconds. Pilkington, it looks like he took tyres as well, because obviously he's still behind Dean Riley, but equally I think he's lost a little bit of time to Riley as well, and he's dropped back a little bit towards Mitchell, because Mitchell seems to be within 2 seconds of Pilkington. It was, I think Regan Mitchell's found some lap time, because he's really pushing and putting Pilkington under pressure, because Pilkington's last lap was 29.9, Mitchell's was a 29.2. So all of a sudden Regan Mitchell has got some pace, and I think Pilkington might come under pressure for that 4th place, what is potentially in real terms 3rd place, but he's going to come under pressure. I don't think he's going to have it all his own way. I think Mitchell's got something to say about it.
Yeah, he certainly does. 1:28.7. That's probably one of the fastest laps we've actually seen from Regan Mitchell to catch right onto the back of Martin-Pilkington for Simsport Racing. and that Lamborghini looking devastatingly past, as we see Passpal into pit lane then. So that theory of going late until the end hasn't really worked out for him. He's going to come out of pit lane just now, and that's going to filter Passpal down into probably about 9th or 10th place as well. So we've got 13 cars still running just now. We've lost what's that? At least 3 cars from the race so far, and I mean, if you're Jordan Claxton-Ruddock, it's difficult to feel sympathy, if I'm quite honest, purely because having experience in Assetto Corsa Competizione, you've got your spotter telling you need to come in. You've also got it on the dash and also in big flags that you need to come in to serve that drive-through.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, you've got enough people telling you within the sim, enough notifications. So, yeah, it's possibly out of frustration of where he was battling, and you know, it can be a test of character. That's all I'm going to say. It can be a test of character when you get these drive-throughs. You serve the drive-through and you get a stop-go 30. Maybe I'm not sure if he attempted to serve the drive-through and then speeded in the pit lane and got the stop-go 30. And that was probably the straw that broke the camel's back, maybe. I'm not quite sure, to be honest.
I've just remembered there is that very rare bug where the stop box doesn't actually appear or do anything, so they can't physically take their drive-through. Oh, it's a drive-through, so yeah, that's ignore me on that one. So yeah, it's a drive-through. So literally, I mean, even if he couldn't stop for whatever reason, he still would have been able to drive through to get that. So yeah, frustration for Jordan, and obviously that completely destroys any chance of him doing well in the race tonight. Just looking back at the timing screens there, looks like the gap between Martin-Pilkington and Regan Mitchell kind of stabilised out just now at 1.5 seconds. We saw this from Regan Mitchell before. He was able to get the pace to get up, but really couldn't actually do anything with that. And I just can't see him getting past. That's the problem. And while he is a very, very fast driver, what I've noticed about Regan is that he can be a little bit hit and miss with their consistency.
Yeah, I mean, he's pushing hard. The gap is still coming down. You know, it was 1.7, now it's 1.4. It is dropping slowly, but a couple of tenths advantage on any racetrack is not really enough to get an overtake done easily. And around Zolder, overtaking isn't easy, even if you've got a second a lap faster. I don't think it's a very, very difficult circuit to overtake on. You know, Regan Mitchell's going to really have to push hard, and as we said earlier, it's all about pressuring that car in front into a mistake to open the door for you and let you through, because it's not about lap times and pace when it comes to overtaking around here. It's about making the car in front just make that little mistake, allow you through. And Regan Mitchell, while he has got the pace, he's gaining a tenth or two, I think a couple of tenths a lap. He's closing the gap down, and Pilkington will be looking in his mirror. The gap to Riley is going up. That's 14 seconds, so that tells me that Pilkington's already looking to defend against Mitchell, and he's watching the time behind more than he's watching the time in front.
I've got to be honest, I'm very, very impressed with Dean Riley for the pace and the consistency that he's been able to show during this race. It's very easy to overlook that for the stunning performance that Robbie Stapleford has put in, but that gap is either staying the same or starting to be chipped away at from Dean Riley. And we've seen the Robbie Stapleford, if he starts making mistakes, things can actually happen with that car. Comes across the line, Robbie Stapleford does the 1:28.557 and Dean Riley does a 1:28.473. Being honest with you, that is like the third lap in a row that Dean Riley has been ever so slightly quicker than your race leader. I don't think it's anything to worry about just now, and it could very well and likely very well will be nothing more than Robbie Stapleford just managing that gap at the front. But I mean, it's a lot of pressure to put on your own shoulders, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I think just looking at the whole picture at the moment, you know, Robbie Stapleford, Dean Riley, those two guys have been in a class of their own. They've dominated the top two steps, and there is no question, unless they throw it away, those two guys are going to finish first and second. That is without a doubt. I don't think Pilkington's got the legs to catch Dean Riley, and if he had the legs to catch him, I don't think he'd get past him. There's only 34 minutes left to go. I say only 34 minutes. It's a long time around Zolder, but I think you know, Pilkington's now looking very much back towards the Lamborghini of Mitchell, and I think his focus is on that car behind. Interestingly though, how Pilkington's Lexus came to life later in the stint, or middle of the stint before the pit stop. I'm wondering if you know, Regan needs to get caught up now and get past before that Lexus comes alive again, because Pilkington's he's not putting bad lap times in, but you know, I just think that he's maybe got a bit more pace, or he had more pace before the pit stop.
And that's exactly what I would say on that, and Regan Mitchell looks now closer than he has been to Martin-Pilkington there. The gap was 1.15 seconds there, and it stays stagnant at that gap just now. As I said, we saw before that Regan Mitchell was able to have the pace to catch up, but it's almost like he hits a roadblock as soon as he gets up to that car in front, as we see 𝗏𝗏𝗧𝗏𝗏𝗡 turning on the afterburners again. 1:28.3 takes half a second away from Dean Riley on that charge there. That gap now over 12 seconds in. I mean, for all intents and purposes, with half an hour left to go, 𝗏𝗏𝗧𝗏𝗏𝗡 has this race in the bag. Makes it look so comfortable. But here comes Regan Mitchell now. The gap under 1 second through the chicane. Regan Mitchell on charge for silver in that number 69 Lamborghini. Comes through the left-hander that's on the run down to the second chicane. And again, look at the speed that Regan Mitchell can carry through that corner. Ooh. But I think Martin-Pilkington gets a bit more speed out of there, a little bit of a wiggle for Regan Mitchell, and that undoes all of the hard work there.
Yeah, that was Regan pushing at 10/10 through there, wasn't it? He just you could see from the attitude of the car, from the front splitter cam there, that the back end just broke away. You could hear the engine red rise as the wheels were just slipping, and he slid it through that second part of the exit of the chicane there, which cost him a couple of tenths. But he's definitely got the pace. He's definitely got the grip and the speed on Aaron Martin-Pilkington at the moment, and that gap is coming down, and just lost a tenth on that lap, and I would say that was all in that little bit of a slide that he had. But that just goes to show how hard Regan Mitchell is pushing at the moment, and Pilkington just doing a good job to drive his own line, drive his own race, put the lap times in, keep doing what he's doing, and make Mitchell work for it. He's not going to make a mistake. He doesn't want to drop back. He's not going to hand it to Mitchell. Mitchell's going to have to work for this. He's going to have to catch Pilkington, then he's going to have to pass him.
And he's not going to do that with the pace that he's just doing there. 1/10 slower on that last lap round, and Martin-Pilkington absolutely pogo sticks over that chicane there. That was not probably the most graceful way of doing that chicane there, but do you know what? It worked, and it actually took a little bit of a gap over Regan Mitchell behind him there. So slightly unorthodox there. But yeah, it got the move done, and to be honest, the race now has kind of stretched out, and these two, I think, are pretty much the closest two cars that we have on track, because Chris Pinchbeck gets to breathe a sigh of relief, because he was having the hard charging 𝗏𝗏𝗧𝗏𝗏𝗡 trying to catch on to the back of him. But again, that gap now with the pit stops, 7.5 seconds, so everybody thankfully gets to breathe a sigh of relief, apart from poor Aaron Martin-Pilkington, although the gap ahead of Regan Mitchell now, that is extended substantially, 2.5 seconds, and Regan's either going to have to work massively hard, or it's already done.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, has Pilkington managed to break the back? And he's defended from the onslaught of Mitchell, and Mitchell's maybe just got back past the best laps that he was going to get out of that Lamborghini after the pit stop, because he's definitely, the last 2 laps he's lost time, and he's losing big time now, it has to be said, to Pilkington in front, and the gap, we don't need to see the times now, we can see the gap's growing. He's gone from being on the bumper almost of Pilkington to now dropping right back, and he's not really in the same camera shot now.
Yeah, difficult to watch. It's so frustrating as a driver as well, because from your own experience, you know, you just want to keep pushing things on. You want to keep going. You want to try and take that place, and that's when overdriving happens. That's when mistakes can happen, and that's where you end up finding yourself either off the track or into your nearest associating wall at a rate of speed. But half an hour left to go, and I've got to be honest, all of the drivers in the top 10 can be very happy so far with the performance that they've put here in this penultimate race for Simsport Racing's GT3 Season 6 Championship. It's been an exemplary drive so far from 𝗏𝗏𝗡𝗏𝗡, and you know, fair play to Dean Riley. He's tried his best to hold them to account. But again, it's really difficult when you are 𝗏𝗏𝗡𝗏𝗏𝗏 and you have that pace.
Yeah, absolutely, and you know, it's good to see the guys having a good race. Good to see Martin-Pilkington's up into 8th place at the moment, and he's had a relatively good race. I mean, pre-pit stops, he was battling hard. Every time we cut to Mark, he was in a battle. That Bentley looks in pristine condition, it has to be said, which is a good sign of some very clean racing had by Mark, because you know, he's fought his way into that 8th place. He's made that 8th place his own. He's got a bit of a window either side of him, round about 3 seconds one way, 4 seconds the other, something like that, and he's defending well, and driving well. Seville, well, this is a bit of a story of the race, isn't it? Seville got caught out in that first corner incident through no fault of his own, and to be fair to the other drivers, from what we saw, it was really a little bit of probably a first lap racing incident, but yeah, Seville was the victim of that. Got dropped down to pretty much last place, and he's got himself back up to 9th. He's had a couple of good battles on the way. He's been racing hard. He's putting in some reasonable lap times. He's doing 29.2s, so he's competitive. He's quicker than the guys in front, so some of the guys in front, so he's catching, and it may be that he can catch 𝗏𝗏𝗡𝗏𝗏𝗏 and make 𝗏𝗏𝗡𝗏𝗏𝗏s work for that 8th place. Half an hour to go, 27.5 minutes to be precise, so plenty of time and plenty of racing left to be had. Just a little bit difficult at the moment as all the cars are spread out, so it's there's no real battles on the field, so I think we'll just take a few moments to have a look through a few of the guys and give the guys some airtime.
Yeah, certainly that's a great idea. Bad day goes from bad to worse for 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 in that number 4 car in 13th place there, with another drive-through penalty, his second one today for track limits there, and you absolutely hate to see it. He's trying to get his way through, and to be honest, there's very little to pick back out of this race here. But as you said, let's have a look through the order then. It's 𝗏𝗏𝗡𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 in the lead in the 81 car, 13 seconds to the good from Dean Riley in the number 2 Aston Martin. It's then Martin-Pilkington in the Lexus in 3rd place, 14 seconds to the good over Regan Mitchell in 4th place. Regan Mitchell just ahead now. Ahead of Regan Mitchell. Regan just a couple of seconds, excuse me, behind your driver there, behind Martin-Pilkington. I was reading that the wrong way around. Then 7.5 seconds behind Mitchell is Chris Pinchbeck. It's then 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 in the 111 car in 6th place. It's then Wilkes in the number 12 in 7th place. 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏's in 8th place with... I mean, again, you brought that up there about Seville's recovery drive in the number 97. That was ace. The fact that he's back into the top 10 after being punted off at the first corner there, and feeling, you've got to think, maybe a little bit aggrieved after that first corner contact to get himself back up into 9th place. Great drive there. It's then the 444 in 10th place of Steen Pastemont, and then 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 in 11th place, Rhys Wiggin in 12th, and then at the back 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏. Again, I think Kieran into the pits again. That might be Kieran actually retiring from the race, I wonder.
Yeah, it's looking that way, unfortunately. Obviously one penalty too many for him, and he sort of destroyed his race, so he's in the pits now. I mean, just to run through what looks like the retirements, it's looking like Kieran Vidago's parked it. We've got Jordan Claxton Ruddock parked it. We've got Rob Jackson DNF'd. Yannick Muller DNF. That's a real shame, because you know, Yannick has got some good pace, but obviously a DNF this evening, and Ashley Coupland DNF as well. So all in all, Zolder, it's been a hard track for the guys, hasn't it, David? It's been difficult, and that's quite, for a small grid, that's quite a high attrition rate.
It certainly is. It's difficult to see because you want to see close fighting, you want to see close racing, and unfortunately, when you get races like this, it makes it difficult to see that because the level of ability is so darn high in these esports championships that one mistake is enough to put you to the back of the grid. Two mistakes and there's literally no hope, and you've seen that from 𝗪𝗏𝗏𝗧𝗏 here. The fact that he pulled out of pit lane after doing that drive-through penalty, I'm delighted that he at least saw that through, but it just wasn't to be tonight on that one. It was just really, really bad. In fact, he's just been in to chat and actually explaining. So Kieran actually had his vaccine yesterday, and he's not been feeling the best today. And actually, that does tie up because obviously you hear of some people within 24 hours, 48 hours not feeling so great after they've had the jab. And certainly when I had it, my left arm felt so heavy, and I can't imagine going and trying to do a 90-minute race after that one. It's unfortunate to see, but at least he's doing us proud and getting his arm rolled up.
Yeah, absolutely good to see. I mean, Kieran, he's one of the admin at Simsport Racing. He always puts in 110% effort to whatever he does. He's a fantastic addition to the admin team and a very valued member of the Simsport Racing community. And 100% there, 10 out of 10 for attempting the race when he wasn't feeling so good. But real shame that he's had to retire, but understandable. And save himself for Spa in 2 weeks' time. 2 hours plus the qualifying, so 2 hours 20 minutes and the final lap to drive there. That's going to be an interesting one, with the rules and regulations on the tyre sets of still only being allowed to use 3 tyre sets for the 30-minute practice, the 20-minute qualifying and the 2-hour race. That's going to be a real challenge, David, isn't it?
It absolutely is, and concentration really does come into the forefront here. It's difficult also to believe, Steve, we're almost 70 minutes into our 90-minute race here. We've got 22 minutes left to go in the race, and there's confirmation 𝗪𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗧𝗏 pulls us down to just the 12 cars running in this one. And I'm watching also the 666 Bentley of Martin-Pilkington just now, who is again in a bit of no man's land at the moment, trying to catch down Wilkes there, but again he's got 𝗧𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 just behind him there, and if 𝗧𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 could get that place to get 8th position, I mean that would be a heck of a drive, and he could actually do it because 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏s is doing 130.2s and 𝗧𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 is lapping a lap faster, so Martin-Pilkington is going to have some alarm bells going off very, very shortly, as we could potentially see another move from Jonathan 𝗧𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, and yeah, that would make me happy because that is an excellent recovery drive from Jonathan if he pulls that off.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's like we said, it's good to see people not quitting when things aren't quite going their way, sort of thing. Just draw your attention to some artwork on the back of Mark Neutlin's car, if I may, David.
Yes, eat my dust. Well, let's hope that is not up close and personal for 𝗧𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 when he comes up to the back of that. I hope we don't get an extreme close-up of it during the action, but it does bring up a really awesome little thing that I have touched on other championships as well. It's just how much effort these drivers go into these pride and joy, into the design. It is just, they look fantastic. They look like proper factory outfits.
Yeah, absolutely, and I know a couple of lads that do these liveries for a lot of people, not just in this community, but great work from Steve Hinden over at Esports Designs. He does some absolutely awesome stuff, and I know puts many hours into them. But yeah, they're on another level. It is pretty much, it's real world stuff, and quite often we have Steve Haley, our own admin, who does a lot of liveries for people. I'm very much working with Esports Designs. He does iRacing liveries, ACC, done our factor liveries, I believe, AC liveries, and they are doing liveries for real world drivers with real world teams, to try and match their cars within the sims, and it's awesome to see the results when you get them, and even more awesome when they're on your server, on your grid, and racing hard. Some fantastic, like I say, lots of work, lots of talent, and an awful lot of skill.
Yeah, they really do look the part. I tried turning my hand to it once, and it can only be described as what would happen if a 3-year-old gets let loose with Crayola. Yeah, didn't really work out too well, but Jonathan Seville is on the hunt right now. It was a slightly slower lap than Mark 𝗏𝗏𝗏's up in front, so that gap's still staying at 2.2 seconds, but with 20 minutes left to go, you've got to feel that for a driver like Jonathan Seville, seeing Mark just up the road there, that's going to really be all the incentive he needs to put that power down, brake a little bit later, push the car a little bit more, and just really, really try and hustle to get that position done.
Yeah, interestingly, I mean, anybody who's looking at Pitwall Live at the moment, I mean, just have a look down to Wilkes, 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, and Seville. That's 7th, 8th and 9th. Last lap, all of them were 1:29.2s. I mean, they are all lapping pretty much identical lap times, so those gaps, if they are going up and down at all, it is not by very much, and they are toing and froing. 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 will be, you know, he's still trying to chase Wilkes down, although he's got a bit of a gap to go. He will have one eye in the mirror at Seville, who's under 2 seconds behind him, but it's not coming down very quickly, that gap. And if 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 is pacing himself, he's doing a good job here. He's got 18.5 minutes to go. He's doing a very good job of hanging on to that 8th place, because the last thing he wants is Seville to get, I would say, within a second of him, and then it will be game on. That's when the pressure will start, and Seville will really start pushing for that 8th place. I think maybe 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏's is just a little bit too far back at this stage to catch Wilkes unless Wilkes makes a mistake. Just looking at 𝗧𝗟𝗏𝗏𝗏 as well, Adam, he's looked like he was maybe pushing on, but Wilkes is only 2 seconds back from 𝗧𝗟𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 at the moment as well, so 𝗧𝗟𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 has got to watch himself, because he's going to start coming under pressure from Wilkes. And just looking at the last lap times, he was half a second slower than Wilkes, so this could be the battle that's just around the corner, so to speak, David. I think this could be the next battle we focus on, as we just see Wilkes there coming into the camera shot as they go into the heavy braking for the hairpin there. We appear to have, excuse me, we appear to have lost David at the moment, but we'll.
It helps if I remember. Unfortunately, I am still here. Unfortunately, I forgot to press push to talk. That's a great one, isn't it?
Good man, good man. It's not your first rodeo, is it?
I do believe that I did type in Discord chat about my consummate professionalism, and really on display there for everyone to see there. What I was trying to say is that the two groups have kind of split apart by, you know, almost identical times. 𝗧𝗟𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 and Wilkes by 1.8, but this gap now, I mean, look at Seville. Seville's absolutely on the charts. That's about 0.8 of a second on that last lap round. 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏's has firmly got the radar lock tone on his behind right now, because Jonathan Seville is absolutely charging. I'll be honest with you, if I'm Mark 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏's in that Bentley, I'm feeling a little bit intimidated right now with how fast that Aston Martin is catching on to me right now.
Absolutely, and he does know how to defend, does Mark, but Seville, as we've seen, does know how to attack as well, and he's really, you know, pushing. He's going to push hard, and he took, yeah, like you say, 8/10, nearly 9/10 out of 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏s on that last lap alone. It has to be said that Mark made, I think, he just wasn't as quick. Whether it's fair to say he made a mistake, but he didn't have the best lap, and it was him losing at lap time rather than Seville gaining it, I think. But yeah, definitely he's putting himself under pressure, and it's going to be interesting to see what's going to happen, how long he can you know, sustain this position, hold this position, and keep Wilkes at bay. But 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏's drive through, he's got a drive through, devastated.
That is absolutely gutting, and that is what happens because 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏s has been pushing and pushing and pushing to hold on to that position, and Jonathan Seville has done the work without even actually lifting a finger right there. That is going to be it, because I don't think there's any way that that Jonathan Seville is going to do the 10 seconds to catch up to Wilkes there. But if we change our attention to Simon Wilkes and Adam 𝗧𝗟𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, that's a familiar story. There's the gap there. Now, either 𝗧𝗟𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 or 𝗬𝗏𝗡 has kind of slowed down there. I think it's 𝗬𝗏𝗡 on that last lap there by about 0.3, because that gap has kind of went out now to about 2.2, 2.3 seconds there, where it was about 1.8 and coming in. So again, 15 minutes left to go in this penultimate round of the championship, and this is now more important than ever for drivers to keep their nose clean and just get these laps done.
Yeah, absolutely, because you know what this does with us having a smaller than usual grid this evening, what this does is it gives some of these guys the opportunity to score some big points where they're not always, maybe shall we say, as high up in the finishing order. So going to Spa for the final round, they might see a few of them overtaking a few people in the championship table that they might not have expected to do, and it's going to make for an interesting final round. But 𝗬𝗏𝗡 still pushing on. The gap's not really moving too much, although you know, he's still pushing hard. Has to be said, 𝗧𝗛𝗏𝗧, I know Adam, he's a very good driver. He's pretty consistent. He's a massive member of the community, helping people with setups and improving the driving. No end. He does coach a few of the guys and offers advice quite freely, and will share his own setups with guys. So really nice guy, but he does know how to drive, he does know how to defend, and he'll be banging the laps in now. He won't be. I don't think Adam will be paying too much attention to Simon Wilkes at this moment in time, and that's no disrespect to Simon. That is just how Adam is. He will be focusing on his own lines, putting his own lap times in. The point when he will start to worry about 𝗬𝗏𝗡 is when 𝗬𝗏𝗡 is filling his mirror and he's right up behind him within a couple of tenths. That's the nature of Adam's driving.
Yeah, and that really is par for the course across the whole field right now, because there's nobody really realistically that has to worry about any of the cars behind him, because look at Robbie Stapleford, 14.5 seconds to the good over Dean Riley in that second place. Dean is going to be delighted to take that second place. Obviously he wanted to take that win from Robbie, but on a fast flowing circuit like this, it just doesn't look like it was meant to be. And Martin-Pilkington would chomp your hand off at the bit if you said he was going to get third place out of this race. As you said, about 45 minutes before the race started, he was due to be in the commentary box, and got added as a last minute addition to the grid. And what a performance he's pulled out of the bag here. Regan Mitchell there in fourth place with the 69 Lamborghini. Fantastic performance for Regan as well. And we have a look here at Simon Wilkes down there as well. Chris Pinchbeck, though, has kept himself off the radar as well, down in 5th, ahead of Adam 𝗖𝗏𝗏𝗏 and Simon Wilkes. You've then got Jonathan Seville in 8th place, and Pascal down in 9th place, with 𝗪𝗓𝗪 rounding out the top 10. And it's just been a fantastic race. I've really enjoyed this, and like I say, I can't believe we've only got 12 minutes left to go here, Steve.
Yeah, absolutely, and the man that will be counting the seconds down to the end of this race will be 𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪, because now he has got Mark Neutling's, the Dutch destroyer, 𝗬𝗢𝗪𝗪𝗪, on the back of the works Ferrari driver 𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪. He's going to be really pressuring him, he's going to be pushing him, and 𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪, you know, he doesn't mind telling you 𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪 starts to suffer with a bit of fatigue towards the end of these races. A few mistakes do sneak in here and there. We've seen it in the past. So will Mark Neutlings be able to pressure him into a mistake? I would put money on that he can. I think Neutlings will get that 10th place off him before too long. We just see him a little bit scruffy through the chicane there, but I think he'll have the legs on 𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪.
I don't think it's going to be just 10th. I think 9th is also at risk as well, because the 444 just ahead of them there is going to be under threat, you would have to think, with Steen Passpont just up the road from that little battle there. So yeah, I think honestly he's going to get that 9th place in the next 10 minutes. And if he comes out the fact, oh, not like that, he's not. Mark Neutling's going very deep into the corner there. But if he comes out of this and all he's lost is one position after that drive-through, that is going to be some recovery drive from him.
Yeah, absolutely, definitely is. But he's making a few mistakes, isn't he? He's pushing just that little bit extra hard, and it's costing him there. We saw him just run a little bit deep in the hairpin. We saw him just take too much curb there and bounce the car, lose a little bit of traction, lose a little bit of time. he's still keeping 𝗓𝗔𝗡𝗧𝗏 under pressure, he's still catching him, but he's just making a few mistakes that maybe he doesn't want to be making. He just needs to concentrate on keeping it consistent, get the lap times in and get on the back of that Ferrari. 𝗓𝗔𝗡𝗏𝗧𝗏 is also catching Passpont in front as well, so this will be a 3-car battle. The question is, will the Ferrari catch the Lamborghini before the Bentley catches the Ferrari?
Yeah, we're about to find out, aren't we? With 10 minutes left to go in the race, it looks like the Ferrari does have the run here on the Bentley, potentially. Sorry, on the Lamborghini, and the Bentley kind of dropping back a little bit. That's surprising because 𝗏𝗏𝗕𝗏𝗏s was doing very, very well. But again, a little bit of a moment. In fact, that wasn't a little bit of a moment. I was straight up lying there. That was a huge moment for 𝗓𝗔𝗡𝗏𝗏𝗏, and I know you obviously mentioned that he suffers from a bit of fade towards the end, a bit of fatigue, but when you're faced with an opportunity like this, it's almost impossible to pass it up, and it might add to that fatigue for him.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, it's the old adrenaline, isn't it? It's, you know, it depends. It may just kick in with him. It may keep him going to the end. And, you know, it may be that I've made an unfair statement there to 𝗓𝗔𝗡𝗏𝗏, but he's, you know, he won't mind me saying it, and I hope he proves me wrong. He's definitely looking like he's wanting to get on the back of the Lamborghini at the moment, and he's pushing hard for that position.
Great view from the back of Stijn Paspont's machine there, the Lamborghini Huracan in the number 444 machine. Look at 𝗓𝗔𝗡𝗏𝗏 and the 888 behind it. And honestly, Martin-Pilkington is gone. I mean, he's now 2.5 seconds away behind that little fight there as well. So he's kind of dropped off the back of this battle. And this Ferrari looking very, very menacing. Gets a great run out of the chicane there on the back of the Lamborghini. Is it going to be enough though? Because he's got the toe just now. It's down into the second chicane, the right, left, right. And again, that Ferrari looking very, very tidy. But Passpont gets a better run out of that corner there.
Yeah, absolutely. It looked like 𝗓𝗔𝗡𝗏𝗏 kept it a little bit tight and hit one of the little rumble strip, sausage curves, whatever you want to call them, and it just unsettled the Ferrari. But he's there. Look at that. He's on the rear end of that Lamborghini. Lamborghini just lighting the tail up a little bit there as he got on the power, just in haste, coming out of the hairpin. But he's not shaken off the Ferrari. He's still there. 𝗓𝗔𝗡𝗏𝗏𝗏 in the 888 Ferrari. He's really pushing Passpont in the 444 Lamborghini. But it's like we said earlier, David. It's all right being that little bit quicker and being able to catch, but he's going to get past, and I think he's going to be it's difficult. Is he going to be able to push a mistake? Because they are both making little mistakes here and there, nothing major, nothing big, but we're just seeing both cars lighting the back end up more than anything. They're just both very eager to get on that power, and they're just lighting the rear end up, drifting it a little bit sideways, costing themselves time, and this could be the difference between 9th and 10th place for either of these drivers.
It certainly could, and it's time that they don't have, I'm going to add as well. And there's another addition into this mix, because now not only do we have this battle for 9th and 10th place between Passpont and 𝗓𝗔𝗡𝗏𝗏𝗏, but have a look at 3rd place, because Martin-Pilkington is getting caught by Regan Mitchell. That gap down to 3.9 seconds, so not quite visible yet, but that gap come down by about half a second to 0.6 of a second, as 𝗓𝗔𝗡𝗏𝗏𝗏 absolutely hammers on that light pedal of the Ferrari. It roars into life, and it squiggles from left to right there, and he is desperate to get this position done here.
Yeah, and this is the car in the background after 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 is Dean Riley. That's Dean Riley in the shot now as well. So he's going to want to lap these two guys. I don't think he'll be too hasty. I don't think he's got any ambitions now of catching Robbie Stapleford. He's got a safe gap back to Pilkington, but all the same, he'll want to get past them as cleanly and as quickly as possible. And it's sometimes can be, we see 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏's getting the blue flags there, but 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 and Passpont might not be quite as obliging as I think Martin-Pilkington will be, because they're caught up in the battle. As we see 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 just running a little bit deep on the brakes there, and that's cost him a little bit of time. He's pushing hard, he's pushing that Ferrari just past the limit. He's running out very, very wide there. He's fully committed, his 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 there. That's going to put him out wide on the curve, just holds it in nicely there. Can he get it in onto the apex? through this next corner without going out. He goes out wide onto the sand. Is he aware that he's got Dean Riley behind him? Is he aware that he's got second place coming up to lap him quickly? Now as they come through this chicane, he wants to be really clean through here. He wants to lose nothing. Ideally, Riley wants to be past him before the chicane, but it's not going to happen, is it?
It doesn't look like that's what's going to happen here, and I've got to be honest, I think 𝗪𝗔𝗡𝗘𝗧 too far back now from that Lamborghini. He's going to have to yield that position to let the Aston Martin go through. You know, heaven forbid anything actually happens through this very, very fast section. And yeah, great awareness there from 𝗪𝗔𝗡𝗘𝗧 there. Pulls off, but he's going to have to be careful because here's Martin 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 ready to poise and take advantage of that as well. I don't think anything's going to come to the battle for third place there, as 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 just 3.4 seconds behind, 4.5 minutes left to go as we hit the tail end, the crescendo climax of this race here. It's been an exemplary drive for Robbie Stapleford. You know, to be 15 seconds ahead of Dean Riley right now, it's just been an absolute textbook drive from him.
Yeah, absolutely. Fantastic drive, as we said. Pretty much faultless. We've seen a little bit of a few mistakes here and there, but look at this. Dean Riley's not got past Bond yet, and 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 is revitalised now that he's back on the tail end of 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏. He's not letting him go. He's going to keep him under pressure. I thought 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 might try and hang on to Riley as best he could to drag himself back up to Bond, but the opposite has happened. It's dragged 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, and look at this. And look at this. 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏's actually looking for a move into the chicane. That's not going to happen, but he's going to try and get a better drive out of the chicane, up the hill. The Bentley's got some horsepower there, and 𝗪𝗔𝗡𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 Kelsey trying to close the door, potentially wants Mark Addy's nose in it there, but thankfully they're all pointing in the right direction. That could have ended very badly, and that could have been a steward's inquiry that Kelsey didn't want to be involved with.
Ooh, that was a little bit scary coming down at about 120 miles an hour there for 𝗪𝗔𝗡𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 and Martin 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 there, both of them breathing a little bit of a sigh of relief, you've got to think, with 3.25 minutes left to go. And again, you know, self-preservation has to be one of their forethoughts right now as well, with such a small amount of time and, you know, what, 2 laps left to go. They have to keep it together. To bin it now would be absolutely ludicrous. By all means, fight it out, but deal with it the proper way. And that battle for 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 is going to prove me wrong, because look at that now. The gap is now 2.1 seconds. 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 smells blood in the water for that battle for the final podium position with just 2 laps left to go. We have got a fight on our hands here, Steve.
Yeah, absolutely, and they are fighting very, very hard. Very, very fair. A little bit of contact there, as we saw, but you know, ultimately still racing hard, still racing clean. Kelsey's managing to hit those marks. He's just running a little bit wide there. That's going to give 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 the better drive out of that corner. I don't know if it's going to put him in a position, although Kelsey goes defensive, and he just forces Mark. Mark's lost it. 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 has lost it. He's, I think, Ranch held him out really, really wide. He couldn't turn in, and he lost the back end trying to brake even harder to avoid, you know, missing the corner. And that's that battle over with there, isn't it? That's some very hard defending, I think, there from 𝗪𝗔𝗡𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, and I'm not quite sure if it was a little bit too aggressive. Maybe just he braked a little bit later than he would normally, anticipating Mark trying to brake and go around the outside of him, and that just caused Mark 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 to lose control of his car.
I think that's exactly what it was. It looked like that on the outside anyways. We see Robbie Stapleford coming along across the line then. He's actually going to get 2 laps in here, because he's just started his penultimate lap with 1 minute 25 left to go on the clock. So very likely going to get another lap out of this. But for me on Kelsey, yeah, I'm not a big fan of putting under pressure in the braking zone, because both the cars need to get stopped. Just looking here at Martin-Pilkington, that gap to 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 now down to 1.9 seconds. You can see how close it is. But Kelsey as well, we might want to jump back to 𝗪𝗔𝗡𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 because on the back again of Bond for that battle for 9th place. So all these battles all the way through still not over yet.
No, and that's it. And then just touching on your point there of defending the braking zone, you know, it is a rule that you are not allowed to move, change line in the braking zone. You know, the stewards will issue penalties for people that do that. So I'm not sure where the Range was. He was definitely changing lines while Mark 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 was alongside. He was trying to squeeze him, but did he move enough to warrant it to be judged that he was moving under the braking zone? Only a protest and the steward's inquiry will answer that question. But as you say, he's pushing on very hard. He's catching back up to 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏. Again, I'm thinking maybe 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 made a mistake to allow Ranjit. In fact, he must have done, because his last lap was a 1:31, pretty much flat. So that's a lot slower than they have been doing. And that's allowed Ranjit to close back up. But has he got enough time? He's going to be coming onto the penultimate lap, as 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 is now on the last lap. He has started the last lap. These two are now on the last lap. Can Ranj get past him? I'm not sure he can, to be honest.
Yeah, it's going to be very, very far back if it is anything. 0.4 of a second. I mean, I know obviously you can make up a lot on the gap, but it all comes down to how brave 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 is feeling on this. But we do have to turn our attention now to speak about Robbie Stapleford. We have very briefly, but it's been an absolute textbook masterclass for the Zandschulp Simsport driver, the number 81 driver, to do this 90-minute race flawlessly, 60 laps in the bag, and to be 12.7 seconds ahead. He's just been managing the gap, managing the car through, losing a wee bit of time in the past couple of laps, but all he cares about is getting this car across the line. If he was firmly focused on the race, then it would have been all over by now. But Robbie Stapleford then coming down towards the final chicane. We'll keep an eye on 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 and 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 just now, but down into the final chicane for the final time. It's been an absolute joy to watch this man round the circuit here at Zolder tonight. Robbie Stapleford from lights to flag, a wonderful win here at the round 5 of the Simsport Racing GT3 Season 6 Championship. A really spirited drive from Dean Riley. He gave everything he possibly can, and look at this gap between Martin-Pilkington and Regan Mitchell. This is going to be a drag race down to the final chicane then, because the two of them split by just 0.4 of a second. Is Regan Mitchell going to fight it up the inside? Surely he's way too far back. He tries trail braking down into the corner. He is too far back. It's going to be third place there for our Martin-Pilkington, as long as he can get that car out of the corner there. Great job there. It's going to be at 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 ahead of 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 in 9th place there. A brilliant performance, and Steve, I really enjoyed that race.
Yeah, absolutely. Lots of battling there, and we see 𝗍𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, he's not that far in front of Wilkes as well. But yeah, some great battling from all the guys. Some good racing. A few retirements, as we said. But you know, it's racing at Zolder, isn't it? It's not the easiest place to race at. It's not the easiest place to be consistent at, and it is definitely not the easiest place to overtake. But boy, did it put up some good racing this evening. Some good battles, some close battles, and even as we said, with that smaller grid, there was some very good drives out there, and none other than Robbie Stapleford. I think hats off to that guy who just went out there, did the business, did what he needed to do from the minute, last 10 minutes of qualifying, went out, put the lap in, put an absolutely amazing pole lap in, and then just never looked like he was going to do anything else, did he? He was just going to win the race. That was it.
Cracking performance from Robbie Stapleford. Let's run down your finishing order then. Robbie Stapleford takes the win from Dean Riley. 12 seconds ahead is the finishing gap. Our Martin-Pilkington in third place, with Regan Mitchell finishing in fourth place closely behind. Chris Pinchbeck takes fifth place ahead of Adam Azailovic. It's then Simon Wilkes in seventh, with Jonathan Seville in eighth. It's Steen Passbon in ninth, under a hard-charging Ranjit 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, who fought off a hard-fought race with Mark 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 towards the end there that we saw in 11th place. 12th place for Rhys Wiggin. It's 13th place for Kieran Vidago. It was a horrible race for Kieran. It all went wrong. Jordan Clarkson-Ruddock retiring in 14th place, and Rob Jackson, Ashley Coupland and Yannick Muller all retiring from the race. What a fantastic evening, Steve. Thank you so much for asking me to be part of it.
No, absolute pleasure to have you on board, and thank you very much for helping us out here, being part of it. It's been brilliant to have you. Understand you're unable to stay for the interviews. Not a problem. I will ask a few questions and talk to a few gents, and hopefully we at Simsport will see you again very soon, or hear you again very soon, David. And like I say, really appreciate your help this evening. And it has to be said, people should be aware that David literally jumped online with us 10 minutes before we started qualifying tonight, and absolute stand-up guy for helping us out. Thank you very much.
Well, it's all good. It's all good. Drama has been averted because I found a bottle of juice and I'm feeling a tiny wee bit of burst of energy. So let's get a chat then first off to our race winner, because obviously he deserves a little bit of limelight here. So let's have a quick chat to Robbie. Good evening, Robbie. That was, I mean, if there's a definition in the textbook of how to drive a race from start to finish, your picture would be in that.
Well, evening, David. Well, yeah. Just got a good start, just got a good gap to Dean and carried the gap, and then just a bit of boring race after that, and just kept on trying to keep on the track going through the first chicane, as I was pretty much just taking off and landing and then bouncing to the uphill. So yeah, I was just trying to keep it safe through the first chicane and maintain the gap to Dean.
And you've obviously just touched on something that myself and Steve actually spoke about at length. How difficult is it for you when you're out in front and you're not getting caught? How easy or how difficult is it to keep that concentration?
Every corner is alright besides that first chicane. You can never take it the same any lap, and if you screw it up that tiniest bit, it just sends you bouncing and flying. So.
Dean Riley joins us as well. Congratulations on the second place move. Dean, I mean, what do you have to do to this guy? I mean, are you going to be slashing his tyres before the race?
Oh, he's untouchable today. Yeah, just another level. I think the McLaren in the first sector was so fast, and driver obviously, but yeah, I couldn't get near him. He was just on another level tonight.
In all honesty, obviously, Robbie was just untouchable. You just said that yourself. I mean, how gutting was that qualifying session when it looked like you had the pace to match him, and then right at the gasp he brings out a 3/10 gap over you?
Yeah, I thought with the lower grip tracks it wasn't evolving as fast as I thought it would be. I thought this could be the time, and then from nowhere, I mean, I had 2/10 at best. I was never touching that time he put in. I think the mid-engine cars are obviously slightly better in the lower grip conditions, but even so, I still don't think I'd have got near that time. It was a great quality time.
And then obviously 2 weeks time we've got our final round. What are we thinking, guys? I'll come to you first, Robbie. Spa, is that a track that you think you're going to be strong at?
Yeah, Spa's one of the strong tracks, but we'll just have to see. I know the Astons are really quick around there from past experience, so yeah, we'll just have to see. And I'll just be not trying, but not really trying, not making any mistakes. So just going around and hoping for a good result.
And then Dean, to yourself, what's your thoughts ahead of Spa?
Oh, I'm confident for Spa. I mean, the Aston is absolutely amazing around there. We know we've got a good setup as well, so. Yeah, it's probably the strongest track for me, so I'm looking forward to that one.
Excellent stuff. Well, again, Robbie Stapleford, congratulations on the race win. Dean, you did an exemplary job trying to hold them for it in second place there, and we can't wait to see you guys in 2 weeks' time.
Thank you, David.
Thanks a lot.
So there we go then, Robbie Stapleford and Dean Riley, Steve, and I mean that just was an absolutely classic race tonight.
It was, my friend. It was, David, and I think we're.
I just noticed you've just sneaked somebody else in.
I was going to say, are we avoiding the commentator turned racing driver of Martin-Pilkington? I tried not to see him, but his character and his presence is always there. Absolutely awesome drive tonight, Aaron. Absolutely awesome, considering myself and David touched on the point that you obviously had very little to no time practicing before this race. So absolutely awesome job, mate. Top draw. How did you find that?
Yeah, I'm definitely going to need another shower today, because that was a really tense first half to that race. The car felt really well balanced, and I thought I might be able to catch 𝗬𝗓𝗏 after the second pit stop, but I just butchered my tyres in the first couple of laps. Didn't take it easy at all, didn't learn from my mistakes, and yeah, just settled for third really.
Yeah, settle for third. I mean, Regan, he found some pace towards the second half of that race, didn't he? And he closed the gap down to you towards the end. I mean, you know, there was a big pace difference. I mean, did that surprise you in the second half when he closed back up on you?
Yeah, and what makes matters worse is when someone's catching me, it always just it plays over and over in my head like a clapping monkey with cymbals. Like, I know they're catching me, and I get worse and worse progressively, and in that last lap I nearly was vertical after the first chicane. So yeah, I wasn't doing too best, and you know, Regan had great pace too, and so did 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏. It was great battles with both of them.
Yeah, I mean, it has to be said, this evening we've been treated, although it was a smaller grid, we were treated to some fantastic battles, some really good close racing throughout the grid tonight, and you certainly battled your way through that grid and had your fair share of fights, mate. So well done. Question is, which do you prefer? Would you like to talk about it, or do you prefer to drive?
I'll definitely be in the booth on Spa. I can't wait for that race. So yeah, I'll be glad to be back.
Good man. Well, you go get a drink, a shower, whatever you need to calm yourself down, put yourself back in the land of the living, as it were. And all that's left to say from me, mate, is well done. That was a very, very good drive. Well done, mate.
Much, guys. Thank you.
Wow. Yeah, that was the podium, David, and I think it's fair to say they all sounded like they'd worked very hard for that one, and deservedly so. The 3 podium finishes there. Regan Mitchell might be just feeling a little bit not unhappy, but just thinking, you know, if he'd not quite lost that pace in the first half, that third place was his. But I think generally everybody else was, you know, Dean sounded like he knew his fate was sealed after qualifying, and Robbie knew what he had to do. So that was that, wasn't it?
Yeah, and fair play to Dean. I mean, it's being able to recognise your opponent's strengths and just play to your own abilities is a massive thing in motorsport. So, you know, great job for him. Again, the important thing is he comes away with some big championship points out of that, so he'll be really, really happy. And, you know, going back to the race, I think anyone in the top 10 would be a case of shoulda, woulda, coulda tonight. They would have done things differently if they could have. You know, we look at 𝗬𝗓𝗏𝗏𝗏, how disastrous was his night tonight. Obviously, the ill effect of that the vaccine yesterday. But again, it goes back to saying what we were talking about earlier, that unbelievable physical toll that these events have on these drivers.
Yeah, absolutely, and like I say, I just want to say a massive thank you to the guys that have turned up tonight, that have raced and put 110% into it. Understand, obviously, there was a few retirements this evening. It happens. You know, Jordan Ruddock there with his, you know, his drive-through, then his stop-go 30, and, you know, you can understand why some people, at that point, it's a case of, you know what, I'm just going to park this because tonight is not my night. And it happens, but we are looking forward to Spa in 2 weeks' time. It will be the same time, it will be 7 PM for qualifying, but it will be a 2-hour race on 3 sets of tyres with the mandatory pit stop. So it's going to be an interesting one. But before that, we do have this coming Wednesday, the 30th of June at 8 o'clock British Summer Time. We are having something slightly different at Simsport. We are turning our attentions to 𝗬𝗏𝗏𝗏 2, and we are having a fun night on our server. It will be various cars and tracks, short races. I'm going to have a go at streaming it. Never done that one before, so it'll be interesting. There might not be any commentary, but it's more a case of dipping the toes in the water with AMS2. Anyone's welcome. Just join the Discord community where you'll find all the information. You'll get the server passwords and things like that, and we just want as many people to jump in and test that one. So 𝗬𝗏𝗏𝗏 2 on this coming Wednesday night. It's the first Wednesday of 2 that we're going to do that, so please join us and let's have some fun.
Yeah, community nights are always great fun, and anytime you put fun racing in the title of it, it usually ends up in swear words and lots of hilarity on Discord.
Yeah, especially a sim that nobody really knows yet as well, so there's going to be lots of excuses flying around about wheel settings, pedal settings, this is right, that's not right, but lots and lots of banter as always at Simsport. But yeah, I mean, thank you very, very much, David. I said it earlier, a little bit prematurely, but thank you for hanging on for those interviews, but more importantly, thank you for joining me in the commentary box this evening. It's been a fantastic pleasure to work with someone as talented as you, it has to be said, who brings the stream to life, and I hope we can do it again very, very soon.
Yeah, very much looking forward to it. Enjoy being part of Simsport, and it's great to be welcomed into the community. Thank you for giving me the opportunity, Steve. It was my absolute pleasure. Hope you guys all enjoyed that. As we said, join us again 2 weeks' time. Normal service resumed. Your regular commentary team back in force for the season finale. Season 6 ends at Spa on Sunday, the 11th of July. From myself, then, David Christie, and from Steve Proudly behind the cameras and behind the comms as well. Thank you very much for joining us. As always, hit that like and subscribe button on YouTube, and we will see you on Wednesday for our fun night. And until then, guys, take care and have a wonderful end to your weekend.